The rain poured down on the dilapidated iron roof, making a violent drum beat, as if God was laughing at this leaky shack. The air was filled with the smell of moldy dampness, mixed with the rancid smell of the garbage dump next door, which made Li Xiu's nasal cavity throb. He was curled up on an old wicker chair in the corner, the washed white t-shirt on his body clinging to his skin, and the cold moisture was biting like needles. Outside the door, Uncle Wang Defa's laughter was as harsh as a pig's howl, and as his fat body squeezed into the threshold, muddy water splashed all over the floor. "Ha ha ha, Li Xiu, do you really have the nerve to sit here? This is the only shabby house left in the house. It owes me 30,000 yuan in rent. It's worse than a dog house. Look at your parents. They died in a car accident back then and left you a loser to feed your old age. Now you can't even find a serious job. You pick up bottles and sell them on the street every day." Behind the uncle were two cousins. One was smoking a cheap cigarette, and the smoke he exhaled turned into a gray mist under the dim light bulb. The other was holding his arms, his eyes narrowed, and his face was full of disdain. "That's right, Brother Xiu, you are 25 years old and still single, and you can't even get a girlfriend. I heard that you were moving bricks at the construction site yesterday and you were called a bitch by the foreman, right? Oops, you're a loser." Li Xiu gritted his teeth and clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. He lowered his head and stared at his pale face reflected in the puddle of water at his feet, the humiliation burning in his heart like a burning fire. This old homestead inherited from his family was originally the only inheritance left by his parents. It was located on the edge of the suburban development zone. Over the years, his relatives were so jealous that they repeatedly forced him to sell it and cash in. Wang Defa was the leader, and because he was his uncle, he came to the house every day to throw dirty water. "Uncle, cousins, I will not sell this land. My parents told me before they died that this is our ancestral property." Li Xiu's voice was hoarse and he tried to argue, but was met with laughter. "Ancestral property? Ha ha ha, just this piece of land with depleted spiritual veins. There's a demolition boom in the city right now. If you don't sell it, it will be demolished sooner or later, and you won't get a penny at all." Wang Defa kicked over the plastic stool on the side, and the stool hit the ground with a bang, and fragments flew everywhere. "I heard that a big developer is eyeing it. If you sell it to them, you can get at least 1.8 million, and you can spend the rest of your life living and drinking. Don't want to sell it? Believe it or not, I'll find someone to kick you out." The cousins pushed forward in agreement, and Li Xiu's thin body was knocked back a few steps. His back hit the wall hard, and dust fell, choking him and making him cough repeatedly. Humiliation, anger, powerlessness, these emotions came flooding in, and he felt as if his chest was so tight that it felt like it was going to explode. "Get out! You vampires!" Li Xiu finally yelled, but only received louder ridicule. Wang Defa said, "I'll give you 3 days, otherwise don't blame me for being rude," and walked away with his cousins. The door slammed shut, causing the water on the roof to spill all over the floor. Li Xiu sat paralyzed on the ground, the sound of rain became louder, as if the whole world was oppressing him. It was dark at night, so he grabbed his raincoat and rushed out. He had only one thought in his mind: go to the construction site to move more bricks and collect money to pay off the debt. The street lights were dim, lengthening his figure, and his steps staggered in the muddy alley. At this moment, a dazzling car light came out from the corner. The sound of the roaring engine was like the roar of a wild beast, and a black Mercedes-Benz SUV rushed straight towards it as if it was out of control. The tires scraped against the ground and made a sharp, squeak sound. The driver's drunken roar echoed in the rainy night, "Get out of here, you loser." Li Xiu's pupils shrank suddenly, and he had no time to react as severe pain engulfed his whole body like a tide. The body was knocked several meters away and hit the asphalt road heavily. The blood instantly stained the rainwater and formed a winding red stream. His vision was blurred, his ears were ringing, and in the severe pain, a bright golden light bloomed from the center of his eyebrows. Buzz! Endless memories are pouring in like a flood breaking a bank. Previous life, the supreme of the immortal realm. Li Xiu, no, he is Xiantian Immortal Lord, sweeping across the 9 heavens and 10 earths, with billions of spiritual stone or veins in his hand, and mountains and rivers shattering in a single thought. The family was prosperous for a while, but that bitch Han Xiao plotted against him, bloodbathed the entire Li family, and his soul was reincarnated and escaped. Han Xiao, you have also been reincarnated. In the memory, the aura of the city in this world has revived, and the hidden world of immortality is layered. On the surface, there are many prosperous and high-rise buildings, but secretly, the cultivating families compete for spiritual vein resources. Spiritual stones are the hard currency, and those who control the mineral veins dominate. The level of immortal cultivation ranges from chi refining, foundation building, golden elixir, nascent soul to god transformation. The Han family is the overlord of the dark forces in this world, monopolizing several spiritual stone veins on the outskirts of the city. Han Xiao is reincarnated as the son of the family head, holding great power. Li Xiu's consciousness was reshaped in severe pain. The wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. His bones cracked and spiritual energy poured into his meridians like rivers. The rain sprinkled on him, and white mist steamed up, like an immortal in a steamer waking up. At this moment, a cold electronic sound sounded in my mind. Byte. Elixir wallet system activated. The host Li Xiu has confirmed the bloodline of the Immortal Lord in his previous life. System functions, unlimited recharge of spirit stones, accelerated cultivation 100 times. First time bonus, recharge any amount and receive 10 times the spirit stones. Li Xiu opened his eyes, a flash of purple gold fairy light flashed in his pupils, and the aura around him was like the weight of a mountain. The rain automatically avoided his body, forming an invisible barrier. The onlookers on the side of the road widened their eyes and opened their mouths in an O shape. Some people trembled and backed away. This kid was just knocked away. Why did he stand up all of a sudden? Has the bleeding stopped? A middle-aged woman covered her mouth and screamed, "Ghost." There was blood all over the ground just now, but now her skin is so white that she looks like a different person. The driver climbed out of the car, his eyes dim and drunk. He wanted to curse, but when he saw Li Xiu's eyes as deep as the abyss, he suddenly woke up and fell to his knees with weak legs. "Brother, I was wrong. Don't kill me." Li Xiu glanced at him and said calmly, "Get out." The sound was not loud, but it was like thunder. The driver's eardrums were ringing, and he was so scared that he wet his pants and ran away. The onlookers gasped, and someone murmured, "This aura looks very much like the rumored immortal cultivators." Impossible, isn't the world of immortal cultivators hidden? Li Xiu ignored everyone, and with a thought, the system interface appeared in his mind. Current balance, 0 spirit stones. Please recharge. A sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. There were hundreds of millions of spirit stones in his previous life, so why should he be afraid in this life? A thought flashed through his mind, and the bank card balance was only 300 yuan, which was instantly transferred to the system. Byte. Recharge 300 yuan and receive 10 times the benefits, 3,000 spiritual stones. Redeem. Exchange all. Li Xiu shouted, flipping his palm. Crystal clear spiritual stones fell like rain, exuding a rich spiritual energy fragrance, instantly filling the entire alleyway. Passers-by smelled this strange aroma, and their expressions changed. Some people knelt down and kowtowed, "Immortal. Is this a spiritual stone?" Li Xiu ignored him, grabbed a handful of spiritual stones and swallowed them into his belly. His dantian erupted like a volcano, and spiritual energy rushed through his meridians crazily. Boom, the peak of foundation building. Overnight, he went straight from a mortal waste to the peak of foundation building. The sound of dragons and tigers roaring faintly echoed around him. The air was distorted, the rain clouds were shaken away, and the moonlight shone down, coating his figure with a layer of golden glory. A young passerby's eyes widened and his voice trembled, "Oh my God. He was still bleeding just now, and now his breath is so strong that I can't breathe. Is this the foundation building period? Those geniuses of the Han family can't reach it after 10 years of cultivation." The uncle next to him had weak legs and murmured, after the spiritual energy recovered, "I heard that there is a hidden family, but I have never seen such a terrifying genius. Which second-generation immortal family is this kid from?" Li Xiu restrained his breath, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. In his previous life, Han Xiao wiped out his entire family, but in this life he actually controls the Han family. Dark forces are rampant in the city, monopolizing the spirit stone mines, and forcing countless small families to wither. That old homestead actually hides a weak spiritual vein, which is exactly what the Han family covets. Han Xiao, low-key revenge starts with the disintegration of your foundation. Li Xiu muttered, clenching his fists and making his joints crack like thunder. While I was thinking about it, the sound of rapid footsteps and familiar shouts came from the alley. Wang Defa's fat face appeared again, accompanied by several burly men, followed by a luxury Lincoln. The door opened, and a middle-aged man in a suit and ties stepped out with a gloomy aura. It was Han San, the manager of the Han family. Wang Defa pointed at Li Xiu and smiled evilly, "Boy, you haven't sold the land in 3 days. Mr. Han is here in person, and the Han family is going to secure this land. If you don't sell it, you won't even be able to live in this shabby house." Han San squinted his eyes and looked at Li Xiu. His spiritual consciousness swept away, but he could only detect the mortal aura. He snorted coldly, "Trash, the Han family likes your land. It is your blessing. If you sell it, I will give you 500,000, if you don't sell it, we will demolish it tonight." The big men came forward to surround him, and the iron rod struck their palms with a pop sound, and there was murderous intent in the rain. Wang Defa laughed mockingly, "Xiuzi, do you see? The Han family is powerful, and you, a loser, still want to carry it?" Li Xiu slowly raised his head, a purple light flashed in his eyes, and the spiritual pressure around his body was quietly released. The rain beat like a whip on the blue stone of the alleyway, splashing fine water splashes, and the astringent smell of earth penetrated directly into the nostrils. Han San's spiritual consciousness swept across Li Xiu's body like invisible tentacles, but he only caught a trace of the small aura of a mortal. The corners of his mouth curved in a cold arc, and a cat-and-mouse banter flashed in his eyes. "Boy, the Han family has given you face, do you really think you are a figure? 500,000 is enough for you to spend your whole life. Brothers, come on. Let him loosen his bones first and let him know what it means to be a man of heaven and earth." The big men grinned and waved the iron rods, and the rods reflected the cold light in the rain. The sound of breaking wind was harsh, and the iron rod hit Li Xiu directly on the head. Wang Defa's fat face flushed, and he was so excited that he drooled, "Yes. Break his legs and see if he dares to sell it. The Han family is going to decide on this piece of land. You loser, go begging." The passers-by onlookers gasped, and some people exclaimed in a low voice, "It's over, this kid was so powerful just now, and now the Han family's steward has personally taken action. Mr. Han, who is in the foundation building stage, can crush mortals with just one blow." A young man's legs weakened and he backed away, his voice trembling, "The Han family's evil forces are running rampant in the suburbs. How many people have been evaporated after being forcibly demolished by them? This good-for-nothing is dead." Li Xiu stood still, and the rainwater automatically passed around him, forming a thin water curtain barrier. He lowered his eyes, suppressing the murderous intention of the Immortal Lord in his previous life, and the system interface in his mind flashed, "Spiritual stone balance, 2500. The host is advised to be patient and save in a low profile." The corner of his mouth raised slightly, and with a thought, he quietly opened the bank app. These years of picking up bottles to save money, Callie actually collected 5 million in advance payment for demolition compensation, but Wang Defa had been eyeing it for a long time, but there was no movement. At this moment, transfer everything in. Byte. Recharge 5 million yuan and receive 10 times the benefits, 50 million spiritual stones. Cultivation is accelerated 100 times and the Immortal Master technique is automatically loaded. The majestic spiritual stone poured into the Dantian like a river, Li Xiu's meridians buzzed, and the hidden spiritual energy circulated crazily. The first level of the foundation building and yuan condensation technique of the previous life's Immortal Master technique was instantly activated, and the spiritual energy was like a galloping horse, washing over the limbs and bones. The bottleneck at the peak of foundation building shattered with a click, heading straight into the late stage of foundation building. The aura around him was like a volcanic undercurrent, the air was distorted, and the raindrops actually condensed into ice beads, hitting the ground with a ding sound. The iron rod was close at hand, and the leader of the Han dynasty smiled ferociously. Boy, suffer death dash, but suddenly froze. Li Xiu raised his hand and waved lightly, and a wisp of invisible spiritual pressure shot out like a huge wave, boom. The big man's chest was sunken, and the iron rod flew out several meters from his hand, smashing the telephone pole on the roadside, causing sparks to fly and the rain to conduct electricity and make a sizzling sound. His whole body flew out and smashed into the garbage pile, blood spurted from his mouth, and his eyes were as wide as a dead fish. What kind of power is this? My spiritual shield in the early stage of foundation building is broken at a touch. The faces of the other big men turned pale, and the iron bars clattered to the ground. Some people knelt on their knees with a trembling voice. Han, Mr. Han, this kid, he is not immortal. Just now the spiritual pressure, late stage of foundation building. No, stronger. Wang De's fat body trembled, and the ridicule on his face solidified into fear. He took a few steps back and stepped into a puddle, splashing himself. Xiu. You, when did you become a monster? Han San's pupils shrank suddenly, and his spiritual consciousness scanned again. This time it was like hitting an iron wall, the backlash made his head buzz, nosebleed dripped down his chin, and dyed the collar of his suit red. The sweet smell of blood mixed with the mud of the rain made his stomach churn. Impossible. You loser, how can you have the aura of the late stage of foundation establishment? The Han family intelligence said that you are just a mortal picking up garbage. He gritted his teeth and took out the jade pendant from his waist, injecting spiritual power, and the jade pendant buzzed to summon reinforcements. Second Master Han is here in person, this place must be taken tonight. Li Xiu sneered and said nothing, his figure flashed back to the door of the dilapidated shack. In the rain curtain, his footsteps were silent, but he left behind a trail of steaming white mist. Pushing open the creaking iron door, the smell of mold and damp hit his face. He sat down cross-legged, and a light flashed from his palm. The alchemy chapter of The Art of Immortal Master started. Allocate 10% of the 5 million spiritual stones, turn them into pure spiritual liquid, and condense them into a fist-sized crimson elixir, the explosive spirit pill. The moment the elixir was completed, spiritual energy surged in the house, the doors and windows trembled, and the scent of the medicine was as strong as wine, seeping out of the cracks in the walls and drifting down the alley. At this moment, rapid footsteps and screams were heard outside the door. Wang Defa's pig howl sounded. Jiang Chen. You lame loser, how dare you ruin my good deeds? Brothers, beat me. Li Xiu frowned. Jiang Chen. That was his best friend since childhood, the only person who took care of him after his parents' car accident. He was handicapped but outspoken and often stood up for him. When he pushed open the door and walked out, he saw Jiang Chen's thin figure being beaten by 3 younger brothers. He was on crutches, his face was bruised and swollen, bloodshot eyes oozed from the corners of his mouth, and the rain washed it into a pink stream. Wang Defa, you bastard. Bullying Li Xiu doesn't count. Come at me if you have the nerve. The cane was swung and hit the younger brother's shoulder, but iron fists fell like rain. There was a muffled bang bang, and the sound of bone cracking was clearly audible. The younger brothers laughed ferociously. "Crippled Jiang, who do you think you are? Who dares not to sell the land that Mr. Han is eyeing? I'll cripple you and make Li Xiu feel distressed." Wang Defa kicked Jiang Chen in the waist, his fat feet splashing muddy water. "Get out of here. Jiang Chen, how dare you interfere with such a mess in your family? When Li Xiu's parents were in a car accident, it was your father who was driving, so you still have the nerve to pretend to be a good person." Jiang Chen fell to the ground with a groan, his crutches broke, and his eyes were blazing with anger. "Fart. That's what the Han family is doing secretly, ah." A foot stepped on his chest, and he couldn't breathe. Rainwater poured into his mouth, and he choked and coughed up blood. Li Xiu's figure appeared like a ghost, and he grabbed it with one hand. The leader's throat seemed to be caught in an iron vice. He struggled with his feet off the ground, his face turned purple and red, and his tongue spit out, "Hoo, ho." The smell of urine filled the air, and his eyes turned white in fear. "Full of fear, sir, spare your life. This aura is immortal." The other boys were dumbstruck, and the iron bars in their hands dropped to the ground with a clang, and they hit their knees on the puddles and fell to their knees. "Son, immortal. We were wrong." Wang Defa was so frightened that he peed his pants and his fat body trembled wildly. "Sure, uncle is wrong. Don't kill me." He fell to his knees, his head hit the ground with a dong-dong sound, and there was a bloody mark on his forehead. "Han San, no, the distant relative who calls himself Master Han at the moment is in charge. His face is livid, and his jade pendant is shining brightly. Boy, do you dare to touch the Han family? Second Master, I am in the middle of foundation building. I will call the masters here. You just wait to die." He turned around to escape, but saw an icy blue figure coming from the alley. Bai Ning, a beauty of ice and snow, with long hair like a waterfall, skin that is better than snow, and a white dress that is not stained by dust in the rain. A little blue light flickered between her eyebrows, her aura was hidden in the late stage of foundation building, and the jade sword in her hand rang softly. Someone among the passers-by recognized him and shouted, "Bai Ning, the genius of the Bai family. The most beautiful immortal cultivator after the recovery of spiritual energy. I heard that she went to the black market alone to steal the elixir and never lost." Bai Ning caught a glimpse of Li Xiu, and a strange flash of light flashed in her eyes. This man's body was filled with spiritual pressure like an abyss, hiding his immortal aura, making her heart skip a beat. "This young master, is the Han family causing trouble here?" The voice was as clear and crisp as jade beads falling on a plate, and the fragrance was secretly rising in the rain. Li Xiu nodded, appreciation flashing in his eyes. This woman has excellent spiritual roots. She has seen similar geniuses in her previous life, but she is not as sinister as Han Xiao. "It doesn't matter, it's a small matter." He let go, and the younger brother fell to the ground and twitched, murmuring, "Those eyes, purple gold fairy light, immortal aura, we've seen a ghost." Jiang Chen got up and stared at Li Xiu with wide eyes. Raindrops slid down his cheeks, mixed with tears. "Brother Xiu. You have changed." That move just now scared even the younger brother of the Han family to pee. "In the past, when you were bullied, I could only help and scold you, but now, you are my brother, and I, Jiang Chen, swear allegiance to the death. From now on, I will follow you through mountains of swords and seas of fire." Li Xiu patted his shoulder, and warm spiritual energy poured in. Jiang Chen's severed crutch wound, sizzlingly, healed, and the bones were reconnected. He gasped, "Brother Xiu, this, spiritual energy heals wounds. Are you really a cultivator?" Second Master Han had fled far away, and his voice echoed, "Boy, wait. The masters of the Han family will surround you immediately. This alleyway will become your graveyard." Wang Defa prostrated and begged for mercy. "Sure, uncle, get out of here and never come back." Li Xiu ignored it, and with his thoughts moving, the black market map appeared in his mind. Holding the explosive spiritual pill in the palm of your hand, there is still a huge amount of spiritual stone left. His figure flashed towards the black market on the outskirts of the city. Jiang Chen, Miss Bai, follow me. The elixir purchase, the counterattack starts tonight. Bai Ning's pretty face blushed slightly, and she kept up the pace, thinking, this man is low-key but domineering, and the Han family's power is like an ant in front of him. In the alleyway, passers-by were stunned, and someone murmured, that good-for-nothing just disappeared like a teleport, and took Bai Ning with him. The Han family is kicking the iron this time. The rain stopped, the moonlight shone, and murderous intent surged. The entrance to the black market is hidden in an abandoned factory, with neon lights flashing blood red, and the air filled with the strange smell of bitter herbs and blood. In the early stages of building the foundation, the strong man guarding the gate raised his nostrils to the sky. Mortals, get out. The black market only sells immortal cultivators. Li Xiu's spiritual pressure slightly released, the strong man's face suddenly changed, and he sweated like rain. Immortal Lord, spare your life. Please come in. There are many stalls in the city and mountains of elixirs. Li Xiu glanced at it and said in a deep voice, 1,000-year-old blood Ganoderma and 10,000-year black ice grass, all taken. 10 times the price. The stall owner's eyes widened and he collected the spirit stones tremblingly. Sir, this price. Which second-generation immortal family are you from? The black market has never seen such a big deal. The vendors around him whispered, smashing the spirit stones like running water in the late stage of foundation building. I heard that the Han family has a monopoly on mineral veins, and this person has a great background. In the depths of the black market, the neon blood light flickers like a will-o'-the-wisp, and the elixirs pile up in the stalls. The bitter aroma of the medicine mixed with the faint hint of blood penetrates the nose and makes people dizzy. Li Xiuzhang's mind stone poured out like water. The stall owners took it with trembling hands and their eyes were as wide as copper bells. Sir. This 10,000 years mysterious ice grass is worth 10 times the price. Which immortal lord are you reincarnated? No one has ever done this in the black market. The individual cultivators around him were whispering, and some of them took a few steps back, their faces turning pale, squandering spiritual stones like dirt in the late stage of foundation building. The Han family has to save money even if it monopolizes the mineral veins. This guy's background is outrageous, and the Han family's ears and eyes are going to explode. Bai Ning's eyes flickered, and she whispered close to Li Xiu, Master, this is a high-profile move, and the Han family has all the eyes and ears. Li Xiu smiled lightly, low-key revenge, first strengthen the foundation. Han Xiao, I want to secure your mineral vein. Jiang Chen clenched his fists excitedly, Brother Xiu, fuck him. I'm messing with you, and I will take my revenge to the end. In the distance, there are black shadows, and the auras of the masters of the Han family are approaching, and their murderous aura is like a blade scraping bones. Jiang Chen's thin face turned red, and he clenched his fists so that his teeth chattered with excitement. Brother Xiu. These elixirs are enough for us to practice until we can fly. Those bastards from the Han family, kill them if they dare to come. Bai Ning's white skirt fluttered, and the blue light between her eyebrows flashed, and she whispered close to Li Xiu, exhaling like orchid, Sir, the secret passage in the black market leads to the outskirts of the city, the Han family is approaching, let's leave quickly. Her eyes became more brilliant, this man's spiritual pressure was like an abyss, and the hidden celestial charm made her spiritual roots faintly resonate in the late stage of foundation building, and her heart rippled. The 10 masters of the Han family released their spiritual pressure in the initial stage of foundation building. The air was buzzing and distorted. The spiritual talismans in their hands flashed red, and their murderous aura was like a knife scraping bones. The surrounding vendors screamed and retreated, the elixir stalls collapsed, and the medicine powder flew up and clouded the vision, the Han family chi refining team. They specialize in destroying casual cultivators, this guy is finished. An old stall owner knelt down with weak legs and a trembling voice, Mr. Han, please forgive me, we have never seen this guy. The individual visitors gasped, and someone murmured, 10 against 1, you have to kneel even in the later stages of foundation building. This loser was so awesome just now, and now his ancestral home has become a cemetery. Second Master Han stepped forward with a grin, and his jade pendant buzzed as he locked onto Li Xiu. Boy, the intelligence is wrong. You are hiding deep. But the Han family's mineral veins have unlimited spiritual stones, and crushing you to death is like stepping on an ant. Brothers, tie up Jiang Chen and this little girl, drag them back to the ancestral home, and humiliate them in public, so that Li Xiu can watch his brother break his leg in sign to sell the land. The masters rushed forward, and the magic talisman turned into a fire net, roaring and burning the air, filling the air with a burning smell. Jiang Chen swung his crutch to block it, but it was knocked away. He smashed the wooden box with a click sound and spurted blood from his mouth. Brother Xiu. There are so many of them, cough. The white jade sword rang softly, and the ice blue sword energy cut off 2 fire nets. His pretty face was pale. Young master, be careful, they have formation flags. Suddenly, the door of the abandoned factory exploded with a bang, iron filings flew everywhere, and the pungent smell of rust hit your face. 10 figures rushed in like a pack of wolves. The leader, Mr. Han, had a bloody nose, his suit was stained red, and his eyes were as sinister as snakes. Boy. I summoned 10 Qi refining masters, and the Han family's black market branch was fully mobilized. The spiritual veins of the ancestral home are weak but pure, and the Han family is determined. You dare to provoke by smashing spiritual stones in the black market, come with us now, and sign the land sale contract in public, otherwise we will demolish your shabby shed and make you kneel and lick the soles of the Han family's boots. Li Xiu's figure remained motionless. After the rain, the moonlight shone through the hole in the roof of the factory, reflecting his stern profile. The rainwater all over his body evaporated into mist, and his spiritual pressure surged like a volcano. The brain system flashes, detecting crisis, it is recommended that the host recharge and strengthen. Bank balance, tens of millions of demolition funds are reserved. With a thought, he opened the app quietly and transferred all the information. The majestic spiritual stone pours into the Dantian like a galaxy, Li Xiu's meridians bang, and the foundation building bottleneck shatters like paper. The spiritual energy turned into a golden vortex, the air around him shook violently, the steel beams of the factory building creaked and bent, golden light shot into the sky under the moonlight, and the ground of the black market cracked like a spider web. The explosive spiritual pill melts immediately at the entrance, and its power is like a volcano erupting, washing away the spiritual sea, and reaching the early stage of the golden pill. A golden elixir condensed in the Dantian, and there was a buzzed sound. The aura of the Immortal Lord filled the whole place. Passers-by had nosebleeds and knelt down. Golden elixir. This aura, the Immortal Lord came to the world. Master Han's pupils suddenly shrank, his jade pendant shattered, and the backlash of spiritual power made him kneel down and vomit blood. The sweet blood mist sprayed out. No, it's impossible. How can you rush to the golden elixir in the later stage of foundation building? The Han family's information is all wrong. Are you a reclusive old monster? The masters froze in the fire net, their faces turned pale, and some of them were double-crossed. His legs were weak. This spiritual pressure suppressed the flow of my spiritual energy. In the early stage of the golden elixir, it crushed us like slaughtering chickens. Jiang Chen's eyes widened, blood dripped from the corners of his mouth, and his voice was trembling and excited. Brother Xiu. You have become an immortal. The golden elixir is so powerful that these bastards of the Han family are scared to death. Li Xiu raised his hand, purple and gold thunder patterns flashed in his palm, and the immortal technique, heavenly thunder, from his previous life was activated. Under the moonlight, the clouds on the top of the factory were roaring and rolling, black clouds were pressing down on the top, thunder was like thousands of drums vibrating together, electric arcs were tearing the air apart, and the smell of burnt thunder was pungent. 3 thunderbolts rushed down like silver dragons, striking directly at the leading 3 masters. Boom, boom, boom. The first man's chest exploded with blood holes, his charred internal organs flew out, and he screamed before turning into a charred corpse. The second man's spiritual shield shattered like glass, his head evaporated, and his brain splashed against the wall. Pop. The third man's legs were broken by the lightning strike, and he rolled on his knees, his skin and flesh were torn, and his urine and blood were mixed. Immortal Lord, spare your life. We were wrong, Jin Dan Thunder Technique. The Han family cannot afford to offend. The remaining 7 masters looked dejected. The magic talismans fell from their hands and fell to the ground with a clang. Their knees hit the ground and they knelt down. Their foreheads hit the cement with a dong-dong sound, leaving bloody marks. Uncle, please forgive me. We are just the Han family's losers, working hard to get the spirit stones. The black market was completely silent. The vendors' eyes were wide open, and their mouths were open and unable to close. The man murmured, Tian Lei Yin. The lost immortal technique, 1 strike to kill 3 foundations. Is this person the reincarnation of the supreme being of the immortal world? The Han family is finished. Bai Ning's jade sword fell to the ground, her pretty face flushed, her eyes filled with admiration. Young Master Jindan Lei Wei, ice and snow spiritual roots surrender. Ninger is willing to become a disciple, and will give you a map of the Bai family's spiritual veins to help him get revenge. Li Xiu calmly stopped his hand, withdrew his golden elixir spiritual pressure, and the tremors in the factory stopped. He glanced at Mr. Han and said coldly, the land sale contract. The Han family covets the spiritual veins of the ancestral home. I will sign it tonight and let you get out of the suburbs. Mr. Han's fat face was twisted, sweating like rain, and his voice was trembling like chaff. Immortal Lord. The Han family is wrong. I will sell you this land, the price is up to you. He took out the contract talisman with a tremble, bit his finger and signed with blood, and the light flashed to take effect. Then, he slapped himself 100 times, his face was as swollen as a pig's head, and his teeth flew out with mixed blood. I am a bastard. Mr. Han is a dog. I slap myself 100 times to apologize. With each slap, passers-by gasped, the steward of the Han family has become the butt of self-mutilation. With the words of Jindan Immortal, the powerful are like ants. Bite. Recharge 10 million renminbi and receive 100 times the benefits, 1 billion spiritual stones. Cultivation is accelerated 1,000 times, and the second level of the Golden Elixir chapter of Immortal Master Technique is automatically loaded. Fusion of explosive elixirs, forced to pass the level. Jiang Qin got up, his wound had healed, and knelt down and kowtowed, Brother Xiu. Jiang Qin swears to become my disciple, and I will follow you from immortal to the Golden Elixir. Li Xiu nodded, spiritual power poured into his eyebrows, and taught the introduction to the art of the immortal master. Good brother, get up. Jiang Qin joins my sect, and we will restore Han Xiao together. Blood feud. Bai Ning Ying bowed down and said, Master, here comes the map of Ninger's spiritual veins. The master can call upon the secret realm of the Bai family. She turned over the map with her jade hand, and green light flashed to mark several spiritual veins on the outskirts of the city. Master, the minds of the Han family are weaker than this. Li Xiu accepted his 2 disciples and smiled lightly. The ancestral home was rebuilt and you are rising low-key from now on. Han Xiao, your end is near. The whole audience was shocked, and the individual guests worshipped like crazy. Immortal respects the founding family. The Han family's black power has collapsed, and the suburbs have changed. Mr. Han crawled away with a bruised nose and face, his embarrassed figure reflected in the moonlight. Passers-by laughed, you bitch, you were so awesome just now slap your swollen face and get out. The moonlight filled the black market remnant. Li Xiu's figure turned towards the direction of his ancestral home, and the spiritual map appeared in his mind. Suddenly, an old figure stepped on the moon from outside the alley, with a simple aura appearing all over his body. He held a gold-rimmed family token in his hand, and the buzzing sound shocked the entire audience. Gu Sheng, the reclusive elder of the Han family, had a voice as loud as a bell. Li Xiu, the old man Gu Sheng, came with the Li family's old token. Hearing about the power of the golden pill, he wanted to win over the people to fight against Han Xiao. The murderous intention reappeared, the night wind carried a bloody aftertaste, and Li Xiu's eyes flashed slightly. The shadow of the moon stretched out Gu Sheng's old figure, and the aftertaste of blood and burnt thunder intertwined in the abandoned factory. The pungent rust mixed with urine made the air sticky like glue. The gold-rimmed family token buzzed and hummed in his palm, and the simple spiritual light rippled like water, reflecting his wrinkled face, and there was an abyss of exhaustion and eagerness hidden in his eyes. Before the black market stragglers around had recovered, there were a wave of trembling figures kneeling on the ground. Some people were sobbing softly, the old token of the Li family. Elder Gu Sheng actually betrayed the Han family and defected to the Jindan Immortal. The world of immortal cultivation in the suburbs is going to be bloodbathed. Gu Sheng took a deep breath, clenched the token with his skinny fingers, and said in a voice as hoarse as the wind blowing against dead bones, Li Xiu, the reclusive elder of the Han family, is in charge of the peripheral mineral veins. But Han Xiao, that devil's previous life, was the reincarnation of Han Wuji, who destroyed your entire Li family. He holds the Han family's ancestral token and controls 70% of the city's spiritual stones. He is a master of foundation building like a dog, and there is no one below the golden elixir. Dare to rebel. After hearing about the Immortal Lord Lei Wei, I came here with the old token of the Li family to pledge my allegiance. He flipped his jade hand, and the token flew out, hanging in front of Li Xiu's eyes. The words, Li's bloodline, were engraved on the edge of the gold. The aura directly hit Li Xiu's eyebrows, and the memories of his past life surged. Buzz. Li Xiu's Dantian golden elixir trembled slightly, recognizing that this was the inheritance token of the Li family, and the key to the hidden family secret. Jiang Chen's thin face was distorted, his cane hit the ground with a bang, his eyes were filled with bloodshot eyes. Han Xiao reincarnated? Brother Xiu, that thief slaughtered 9 members of my Li family in his previous life, and dares to send Mr. Han to rob the ancestral home in this life. I'll chop him up. Bai Ning's pretty face turned pale, and her jade sword trembled slightly. Master, Han Xiao is in the middle stage of Jindan, holding the blood evil formation, and hiding thousands of casual cultivator slaves in the suburbs. We are weak. The passers-by in the black market gasped when they heard this, and an old cultivator crawled closer with a trembling voice. Is Elder Gu rebelling? He personally controls the mineral veins and produces tens of thousands of spiritual stones every day. In the middle stage of the golden elixir, he is invincible. Even though Li Xiu is strong, he has to kneel down to kill 3 foundations just now. Han Xiao can crush him with one finger. Li Xiu's eyes flashed slightly, he put away the golden elixir spiritual pressure, and said calmly, Elder Gu came here late at night, why? His voice was as calm as an ancient well, but it made the steel beams in the factory faintly resonate. Jiang Chen and Bai Ning both took half a step back, and their expressions changed slightly. Gu Sheng's face was ashen and he said urgently, Immortal Lord, leave quickly. Han Xiao has noticed the movement in the black market and personally ordered Zhao Wuji, a master of the golden elixir, to hunt down the old man's family. They set up an ambush at the helm, activated the blood formation of 10,000 spirits, and enslaved the casual cultivators like wild bulls. We are late, the Gu family will be wiped out. Before he could finish his words, the night wind outside the factory suddenly tightened, and there was a loud bang in the distance. Fires shot into the sky from the direction of the city suburbs. Screams came like ghosts crying and wolves howling. The smell of blood drifted in with the wind and was too strong to be dispelled. The majestic spiritual stones poured into the Dantian like the Milky Way. Li Xiu waved his sleeves and robes, and a bronze alchemy furnace appeared in the palm of his hand. He heard a roar of blazing fire, and the aroma of medicine hit his nostrils. Black market elixirs such as Millennium Blood Lingji and 10,000 Years Black Ice Grass were poured into it. The furnace was boiling, the spiritual energy vortex distorted the air, and the factory floor cracked. Hundreds of foundation-building pills were formed, and the fragrance of the pills filled the air like mist. Passers-by heard nosebleeds and knelt down and kowtowed, foundation-building pills. Hundreds of them. This Immortal Lord has unlimited spiritual stones, and the Han family's mineral veins are bullshit. A furnace of hundreds of pills, a lost immortal skill. Li Xiu snorted coldly, and the system in his mind flashed, detecting the crisis of the Han family's split helm. It is recommended to recharge to strengthen the alliance. Bank balance, 20 million in demolition funds reserved. With a thought, the app quietly opened and poured everything in. Byte. Recharge 20 million yuan and receive 100 times the benefits, 2 billion spiritual stones. The alchemy furnace is automatically upgraded, the foundation building elixir formula is loaded, and the batch refining mode is activated. Gu Xing's turbid eyes widened, and he took one with trembling hands. His spiritual power penetrated into it, and his face changed suddenly. The top-grade foundation-building pill, the medicinal power is as pure as an immortal spring. The old man has been building the foundation for many years, and a gold-rich pill. With the magical power of the Immortal Lord, the output of Han Xiao mine has been endless for 10 years. That's it. Jiang Chen swallowed one, and his meridians exploded. His body entered the early stage of foundation building, and his teeth chattered with excitement. Brother Xiu. I'm here to build the intelligence network. The casual cultivators will flock here after hearing about Bai Dan. Bai Ning's eyes flashed with color. After swallowing the pill, the ice and snow spiritual roots surged, and the bottleneck of the peak foundation building was loosened. Master Genius, Ninger helps you break the formation. She pointed out with her jade finger. The Bai family's spiritual vein map unfolded, the green light gathered the ancient formation pattern, and the blue light on her fingertips pierced like an ice needle. Buzz. The map trembled, hidden runes emerged, and a secret vein mark on the outskirts of the city jumped out, the 10,000-year spiritual vein buried under the Han family's helm, which is 10 times more pure than mineral veins. Everyone stood up, their morale was like a rainbow. Jiang Chen's crutch turned into a spiritual staff, and his spiritual sense swept through the black market and secretly said, Brother Xiu, the mine vein intelligence network in the dark market has been explored. The Han family branch is hidden in the abandoned mine on the outskirts of the city, and the core of the blood array is at the blood relatives of the Gu family. A group of people sneaked into the depths of the black market, the neon blood light gradually faded, the water droplets, tick, echoed in the dark passage, the smell of mold and rot was mixed with spiritual stone dust, and the footsteps were like ghosts. More than 10 members of the loose cultivator alliance followed closely, with fanatical eyes. Someone murmured, with the golden pill Immortal Lord, the Han family is like an ant. Just now, the black market smashed the spiritual stones like dirt, but now Bai Dan has taken back his heart, and the alliance was formed overnight. At the entrance of the abandoned mine on the outskirts of the city, the night wind howled, the lights of the Han family's branch were brightly lit, and more than 100 people of the Gu Xing family were in ragged clothes inside the iron cage. The chains were clanging against each other, the whips were crackling continuously, and the smell of burnt flesh and blood was tangy. The guards of the Han family laughed ferociously in the middle of foundation building. Lao Gogu rebelled. Patriarch Han Xiaoling, cramped and skinned the whole family. Lord Zhao Wuji's golden elixir is coming soon, and the blood array will refine you into spirit slaves. The Gu family's young and old screamed, their eyes dimmed in despair, and a girl cried, Grandpa. Demon Han Xiao, our Gu family has been loyal to Han for generations, how could he do this murderous act? The eyes of the individual traders in the black market were blood red, and more than a dozen foundation-building casual cultivators fell to their knees with thunderous voices, Immortal Lord. We, the casual cultivators, have been squeezed by the Han family, and we are willing to join the alliance. One foundation-building pill, and we swear to be loyal to the death. One person had a bruised nose and face, and it was the strong man who had just witnessed the thunder, and said in a trembling voice, "Han, they enslaved us to mine, whipped us day and night, and handed over 90% of the spirit stones." Li Xiu nodded calmly, and threw out 10 foundation pills. Jiang Chen will take charge of the information, and Bai Ning will lead the way to save the Gu family. The desire to rise was suppressed before the desire to rise. The faces of everyone in the alliance turned pale, and the legs of the strong casual cultivator were weak. Blood array. The Han family's secret technique, absorbing souls and refining slaves. Our alliance is newly established, the spiritual pressure is suppressed, and cannot move. Jiang Chen's foundation building spiritual power reversed, and blood bleeds from the corner of his mouth. Brother Xiu. The formation flag hides in the girl's heart, and the Gu family's blood is the formation's eye. The white jade sword slashed out, and the ice blue sword energy shattered the 3 fire nets, but was backfired by the blood mist. His pretty face turned pale. "Master, the formation is stronger than the Bai family's secret realm, and the ancient talisman is difficult to break." Suddenly, the mine exploded with a bomb, stone debris poured down like rain, and dust choked the nose. Li Xiu's figure stepped in like a ghost. The golden elixir spiritual pressure was secretly released, and the air was buzzing and distorted. The guards all drew out their spiritual talismans, and the fire net blood blade rushed towards them. Where are the casual cultivators? If you dare to break into the Han family's subrouter, kill and report the family leader. 10 foundation building masters pounced on them, and the slave cultivators around them screamed and retreated. Reinforcements. But the Han family's blood array is activated, and the spiritual energy is flowing backwards. Those below the golden elixir will die. This group of people is finished. Li Xiu's figure remained motionless. The soul stone in his palm surged wildly. 2 billion spirit stones turned into the power of golden elixir, and the second level of Immortal Master technique was activated. The meridians rumbled like thunder, the golden elixir expanded in a circle, and the spiritual pressure exploded like a landslide. The steel frame of the waste mine cracked and broke, the ground collapsed 10 feet, the blood formation crackled and shattered the runes, and the blood mist evaporated like melting snow. The pupils of the guards shrank suddenly, and the blood blades fell to the ground with a clang, and their knees hit the ground. This spiritual pressure. The golden elixir suppresses the blood formation in the early stage. The Han family's information was wrong. He is the Immortal Lord. One person's nose bleed violently, the spiritual energy reversed the flow and exploded, and fell to the ground screaming, "Impossible." The family leader, Han Xiao, does not have such power even in the middle stage of the golden elixir. Gu Xing knelt down and kowtowed, with tears streaming down his face. "Immortal Lord, our Gu family is finished. Han Xiao has personally ordered that Zhao Wuji's golden elixirs are chasing us. Immortal Lord, please leave." The guards laughed wildly, and bloody blades fell like rain. Golden elixirs. The Han family has 2 golden elixirs, and they will crush you like mud. The family leader, Han Xiao, has reincarnated into an immortal body and has endless spiritual stones. Kneel down and lick this useless alliance. From the side, the eyes of the casual cultivator alliance widened, and the teeth of the strong man chattered. The Immortal Lord crushed the blood formation. Our alliance leader is invincible, and the Han family branch is dead. Jiang Chen stopped bleeding and shouted excitedly, "Brother Xiu is so powerful. The intelligence network has expanded, and the whole city of casual cultivators has heard about it." The blue light of Bai Ning skyrocketed, deciphering the remaining formation, and the ice needles on the fingertips pierced the girl's chain. "Master's genius, the hidden vein has appeared. This place's 1,000-year spiritual vein, Han Xiao does not know, returned to the alliance." The Gu Xing family was rescued. The young and old stood up and kowtowed. The girl's eyes were filled with tears. "My benefactor's golden elixir is pressing down, and the Gu family swears loyalty to the death. The internal power plot is here." She shook out a parchment, marking the weakness of the Han family's mineral veins and the hiding place of the golden elixir Zhao Wuji. Li Xiu stopped and said softly, the Gu family joins the alliance and the rebuilding of the ancestral home begins. Han Xiao, I know your reincarnation identity. All the slave cultivators swarmed out of their chains and knelt down like a tide. Immortal Lord, help me. The Han family has turned against its enemies, and the alliance has grown by 100 people. Suddenly, thunderclouds rolled in the sky, there was a loud bang sound, and a mid-stage golden elixir spiritual pressure fell like a meteorite. Zhao Wuji was hunting in black robes, with a sinister face like a ghost, holding a bloody gun, traitor Gu Sheng. The family leader Han Xiao personally ordered to destroy the prototype of Li Xiu's alliance. The blood gun in the middle stage of the golden elixir will pierce your golden elixir. The murderous intention was locked on Li Xiu, and the wind and sand from the abandoned mines suddenly rose, and the premonition of blood filled the air. Li Xiu's eyes condensed, the thunder was recharged, and the arc in the night sky tore apart. The faces of everyone in the alliance turned pale. Zhao Wuji is here. Han Xiao's confidant, Jin Dan has no defeat in the midterm, our alliance is new, how can we protect the leader? Gu Xing trembled, be careful, Immortal Lord, the blood spear is designed to break through immortal arts. Ha ha ha. Gu Sheng, old dog, rebelled against his master and turned into a thief. The family leader Han Xiao personally gave him a blood spear to beat your muscles and peel your skin. Zhao Wuji's sinister laughter echoed in the mine like a ghost's howl. With a sweep of the gun shadow, a 10-foot-long wave of blood rolled towards the Gu Sheng family. The girl screamed harshly, and the chain broke with a snap. She held her head and backed away, her face as white as paper. Mid-stage golden elixir, our Gu family is finished. My benefactor, run away. Jiang Chen's spiritual staff blocked it, and the foundation building spiritual power blasted into pieces of blood. However, he was blown away by the aftermath, breaking the steel beam, and blood spurted out from his mouth. Brother Xiu. This dog thief has a spear that locks the soul, and there is no way to solve it in the middle stage of the golden elixir. Our alliance is newly established, and it is scattered like ants. The white jade sword spun rapidly, and the ice-blue sword air weaved a net to block the end of the blood wave. His pretty face was twisted, and his meridians were aching. Master, the blood gun specializes in devouring spiritual roots, and even my Bai family's secret technique can't stop it. The strong men of the casual cultivators had rattled teeth, nosebleeds dripping from their jaws, and their voices were trembling. Zhao Wuji is the #1 killer of the Han family. He has swept through the suburbs of the city in the middle stage of the golden elixir and has never been defeated. Just now, the Immortal Lord crushed the blood formation, which was the limit. This shot, the alliance was destroyed. Gu Sheng's skinny body was limp and limp. Desperation filled his eyes. Immortal Lord, this old man is harming you. Zhao Wuji is Han Li's alias, Han Xiao's confidant, and there are thousands of souls killed by the gun. Let's go. The wind and sand in the mines suddenly rose, and the smell of blood was so strong that it choked the nose. Everyone's spiritual pressure was suppressed and they could not move. The cry of the young child of the Gu family was like a knife cutting into the heart. Deep in the abandoned mine, the smell of blood and scorched earth surged like a tidal wave, and the clanging of the iron cage chains continued. The Gu family, young and old, huddled together, breathing like bellows. Zhao Wuji's figure hung in the air, his black robe made a hunting sound, the spiritual pressure of the middle stage of the golden elixir fell like a huge hammer, the air buzzed and twisted into a vortex, and the stone chips on the ground shattered and flew. The blood glowed from the tip of the blood evil spear, reflecting half of the night sky red, and the fishy wind blew in the face. The knees of the casual cultivators of the alliance weakened, and they knelt down one after another. The spiritual energy flowed back from their mouths and they coughed up blood droplets. Han Li's grin intensified, and he raised his blood gun high. The blood lines on the gun buzzed sharply, and it pierced Li Xiu's eyebrows. Boy, I heard that you smashed the spirit stone like dirt and crushed the blood formation of the helm. Even an ant in the early stage of the golden core dares to rebel against the Han family. The leader of the family, Han Xiao, has detected the abnormal movement in the black market and destroyed the prototype of your alliance. He shot through the golden elixir. The gun shone like a dragon, tearing through the air with a hissing sound. The heat wave hit his face, and the steel frame creaked and melted the iron. Li Xiu remained motionless, his eyes as cold stars, and the system in his mind flashed. Detecting the midterm crisis of the golden elixir, it is recommended to recharge urgently to jump up the cultivation level. Bank balance, 50 million reserved for demolition plus black market spirit stone exchange. His thoughts were like lightning, the app opened instantly, pouring everything in. Byte. Recharge 50 million yuan and receive 100 times the benefits, 5 billion spiritual stones. The third level of Immortal Master Technique is unlocked. The conditions for the breakthrough of the golden elixir in the middle stage are met, the Immortal Master sword formation is loaded, and the sword intention is automatically condensed. The majestic spiritual stone poured into the dantian like the Milky Way, Li Xiu's meridians roared with thunder, the golden elixir rapidly doubled in size, and the spiritual pressure surged like a volcano erupting. The waste mine collapsed 30 feet with a boom, rubble poured down like rain, and the blood wave of the blood gun evaporated into red mist. Han Li's pupils shrank suddenly, and the gun fell to the ground with a huge shock. His knees hit the ground, and his face was as white as a ghost. This, double the spiritual pressure. The middle stage of the golden elixir. You were still in the early stage just now, this is impossible. The Han family's intelligence is all wrong, he has infinite spiritual stones, and his cultivation level jumps like drinking water. Li Xiu waved his sleeves and robe lightly, and the sword array appeared in his palm. The shadows of the swords of the 100 immortals buzzed in the air. The sword intention was like frost and biting. The temperature of the mine dropped sharply, and the frost flowers, covered the steel beams. Han Li's spiritual power surged wildly, and the blood gun recalled his body, his voice trembling. Immortal sword formation. Lost immortal technique. Are you the reincarnation of the legendary Li family immortal? The family leader Han Xiao, who is at the peak of Jindan in the middle stage, does not have this sword. The sword shadow is like this. The rain poured down, tearing the blood gun shield with a whoosh. Han Li's arm broke with a poof, blood sprayed like mist, and the screams echoed, "Spare my life." The whole map of Han Xiao's mind veins is in my storage bag, and all the information about the sex competition is in my storage bag. The eyes of everyone in the alliance widened, and the strong man of the loose cultivator stopped bleeding from the nose, and shouted with trembling teeth, "The immortal master leaps to the middle stage of the golden elixir." Overwhelming Zhao Wuji in an instant, the Han family's golden elixir is like a dog. Jiang Chen wiped the blood and got up, his thin face twisted in ecstasy. Brother Xiu is so powerful. Remember the intelligence network, this bitch is on his knees. Bai Ning's blue eyes flashed with splendor, and the ice and snow spiritual roots resonated. Master's genius, Ninger witnesses the leap, the alliance is invincible. Gu Xing crawled closer, his withered hands trembling in kowtowed, tears streaming down his face. The immortal sword formation instantly kills the middle stage of the golden elixir. I'm so blessed. Han Li will be killed, and the blood debt of the Gu family will be repaid. He pressed the token with his jade hand, and the spiritual light poured into Li Xiu's eyebrows. The rights to hold the Li family's old token will be given to the immortal. Forged by the Han family, the jade token of the inner sex identity is here, and the ancient talisman can change the aura and sneak into the Han family's sect without anyone noticing. The internal power map is completed. Han Xiao is hiding in the Blood Demon Palace. There are 3 weak points in the mine. The competition is about to start. He wants to refine the all-spirit blood pill and attack the late stage of the golden pill. A sword penetrated the chest, and Han Li's golden elixir shattered with a snap. His soul's screams dissipated, and his body turned into charred corpses and rolled into the dust. The smell of blood and burnt food hit his nostrils. Li Xiu reached for his hand, and the storage bag flew into his palm, and he scanned it with his spiritual sense. tens of thousands of spiritual stones, the remaining souls of the blood demon spear, and high-level spiritual treasures were accumulated. The entire map of the Han family's mines appeared in front of him, with the date of the sect competition marked. 3 days later, Han Xiao would personally host a blood sacrifice for the infiltrators. Li Xiu nodded calmly, and the alchemy furnace reappeared in the palm of his hand. 5 billion spirit stones poured in, the fire roared, and the scent of medicine mixed with blood hit his nose. The white jade fingers are brought together, the spiritual power of ice and snow is injected, the remnants of millennium blood Ganoderma and black ice grass are flying, the gulu is boiling in the furnace, and the spiritual energy vortex is distorting the night sky. Hundreds of exploding yuan pills were completed, and the golden light of the pill pattern shone brightly. Passers-by smelled the fragrance and felt weak in the legs. Exploding yuan pill. One foundation building peak has no bottleneck, and the Han family's output in 10 years is less than one furnace. The Immortal Lord and the White Fairy are both cultivating the alchemy skills, and the alliance will sweep across the suburbs. The loose cultivator alliance swarmed forward, and the strong man picked up Han Li's body. With wild eyes, the Immortal Lord instantly killed the number one killer of the Han family. The storage bag of spiritual treasures is returned to the pavilion, and the ore veins are hollowed out by us. Jiang Chen waved his spiritual staff and swept away the remaining enemies. Brother Xiu, the intelligence network is expanding. Dabi, in 3 days, I will release the infiltration plan. Bai Ning's pretty face turned red, and she approached Li Xiu. Her jade hand touched his sleeve, and her voice was as soft as honey. Master has risen, Ninger is happy. Is the Han family's elixir library here to refine the Yuan Dan together and elevate the alliance to its peak? With a sweep of Li Xiu's sword array, the deep passage in the abandoned mine opened, the 10,000-year spiritual veins, appeared, pure spiritual energy filled the air like mist, and the moldy and rotten smell of mine dust disappeared. The casual cultivators rushed in, with blood-red eyes. The Immortal Lord Pavilion is standing. This vein belongs to the pavilion, and the Han family's mineral veins are shit. Jiang Chen's crutch turned into a whip and whipped the newcomers. Swallow the foundation establishment pill, supplement the exploding yuan pill, I will train you to become elites. Before the competition, the 100-man alliance becomes an iron army. The girl from the Gu family distributed the power map, her voice trembling in admiration. My benefactor made a disguised jade token, and it is no different from the inner sect of the Han family. The blood sacrifice of all spirits, Han Xiao personally holds the token. You sneak in, trouble will arise. Under the shadow of the moon, the prototype of the Immortal Lord Pavilion appeared. More than 100 figures sat cross-legged with spiritual veins, auras soaring to the sky. The explosive Yuan Dan swallowed Gudong, the meridians exploded, and those at the peak of foundation building emerged one after another. Gu Xing swallowed the first sign of the golden elixir, and his withered face glowed with aura. Immortal Lord, the pavilion is completed. The Han family is great. For example, 3 days later, Han Xiao came to the Blood Demon Palace in person. The Wanling blood pill requires the secret blood of the Li family's old token. What kind of murderous intention will be triggered by your sneaking in with a fake token? Li Xiu looked at the storage bag, and the whole map of the Han family's mineral veins unfolded. The secrets of the Blood Palace emerged, and he said softly, revenge begins with the competition. The night wind howled, the distant suburbs of the city were dimly lit, the bell in the direction of the Han family's sect was ringing low, and the undercurrent of the 3-day competition was surging. Li Xiu's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and the alliance's morale was like a rainbow. The fragrance of elixirs and the mist of spiritual veins intertwined in the mine, indicating that the storm was coming. Jiang Chen whispered, Brother Xiu, intelligence shows that Han Xiao summoned 3 golden elixirs last night for a blood sacrifice, and there may be blood relatives from the old Li family. Bai Ning clenched the hilt of the sword with a firm face. Master, Ninger will follow you and destroy the roots of the Han family. Gu Xing added in a trembling voice, the fake ancient talisman is stable, but Han Xiao the reincarnated spiritual sense is sharp, and if there is a flaw, the whole city will be bloodbathed. Everyone gasped, and the strong man clenched his fists. The Immortal Lord is invincible. Dabi Han Xiao kneels down. Li Xiu's figure blended into the night, the sword formation buzzed, the abandoned mineralized immortal pavilion fortress, the massive spiritual stones were quietly turning, and the fire of revenge was quietly burning. The spiritual mist deep in the waste mine curls like silver gauze, mixed with the sweet medicinal fragrance of the newly refined Yuan Dan, diluting the remaining bloody and burnt smell. The moonlight shone obliquely, and the frost flowers, cracked, spread across the fractured steel beams, reflecting the figures of more than 100 alliances sitting cross-legged, the meridians, rumbling, with thunder, the auras rising like torches, and the aura of the peak foundation building layer upon layer, making the air buzz and twist. After the strong men of the casual cultivators swallowed the explosive Yuan pill, their muscles bulged, sweat rolled down like rain, and their breaths were as heavy as cattle. This pill, the meridians are like fire, and the bottleneck is broken. I am at the peak of foundation building, and the Han family's golden pill dares to fight. The pretty girls of the Gu family flushed, and their spiritual power was awakened. They hugged their knees and whispered, "The benefactor's pavilion is established, the Gu family is reborn, take a breath of the spiritual veins, and the bone marrow is numb." Li Xiu put his hands behind his back and stood at the spiritual eye. His eyes swept across Han Li's storage bag, and spiritual consciousness poured in like a tide. Tens of thousands of spirit stones in the bag buzzed and piled up into a mound, the remnant soul of the blood fiend's spear hummed and wailed, and the high-level spiritual treasures, black iron shield, blood spirit pearl, and spirit gathering formation, puffed out spiritual light, reflecting the red palm. He smiled indifferently, his thoughts moved slightly, and the system panel flashed, spiritual stone balance, 8 billion plus 10,000, the remaining soul of the blood demon gun can be refined to strengthen the sword formation, the full map of the mineral vein is loaded, and 3 weaknesses are marked, His Royal Highness the blood demon's spiritual veins are faulty, the restrictions on the mountain behind the elixir warehouse are loose, and the hidden passages in the peripheral mines are marked. The majestic spiritual stone poured down the Dantian like a river, the golden elixir, bang, rotated and accelerated, the third-level sword intention of Immortal Master Technique became more concentrated, the meridians faintly flowed with golden light, the spiritual pressure quietly increased, the wall of the waste or broke into pieces, and everyone trembled. Jiang Chen's crutch turned into a whip and hit the ground with a snap, his thin face was livid, and he glanced at the newcomers. "You guys are a bunch of trash. You are still panting like a dog after swallowing the immortal pill. Get up. Intelligence shows that Han Xiao has summoned 3 golden pills to protect the competition. Within 3 days, we will dig out the weak points of the mine first. Brother Xiu's mine map is here, Blood Evil. The palace leads directly to the Lingxir treasury, and the plan is to infiltrate, disguise the outer door. Gu Xing's forces are trying to make up for the list of insiders, Bai Ningbing's sword breaks the formation, and our intelligence network spreads false news that the Immortal Lord Pavilion has been disbanded." The strong men got up and pounded their chests with their fists, their eyes filled with enthusiasm. Master Jiang said it. "Yes. The Han family has a blood sacrifice to the old members of the Li family. Our Iron Army will cut off their spiritual roots first." But an old monk interrupted with a trembling voice, his face sallow, "Master Jiang, be careful. Han Xiao was reincarnated as a god. The news of Zhao Wuji's death was reported to the sect last night. The body, the Dabi 10,000 spirits blood pill, swept through the city suburbs in the later stage. Although the Immortal Lord is a god, our alliance has the majority of foundations, and if there is a slight flaw, they will be wiped out." Everyone's expressions changed when they heard this. The Gu family's young children started crying again, the spiritual mist in the air seemed to be stagnant, and the gloom of despair surged like a tide. Gu Xing's skinny body shook, and the first sign of the golden elixir that swallowed the Yuan Dan flickered. He kowtowed to Li Xiu, his voice hoarse and trembling, "Immortal Lord, forgive me. The old Gu family has been around the Han family for generations, and there are 10 people who know the inner ghosts. They are all in the late stage of foundation building and have keen spiritual senses. The fake ancient talismans are stable, but Han Xiao personally holds them. The secret blood of the Li family's old token can be detected at a touch. The blood sacrifice of all spirits in the Dabi blood palace is not only the blood relatives of the Li family, but also the hidden branches of the Bai family. Our alliance is in its infancy, and the Han family's intelligence network is like a spider. Last night, it was suspected that the black market spirit stones were moving. Weaving a net to protect the young child of the Gu family, his eyes were as worried as mist. Master, the map of the Ninger Bai family's elixir storehouse indicates the restricted weakness, which can be broken by refining the ice explosion pill. But Han Xiao's blood elixir requires the blood of all spirits, which can reach the late stage of the golden elixir. Although the sword formation in the middle stage of the master's golden elixir can instantly kill Zhao Wuji, the combination of his 3 elixirs can, the blood demon palace formation is resurrected, and the alliance's iron army is like ants. The casual cultivator's knees were weak, and the strong man's nose was bleeding again, and his teeth were chattering. It's over. The information is all wrong. Zhao Wuji died too soon. The Han family will be destroyed. The Immortal Lord Pavilion is newly established, and even though the spiritual veins have been around for thousands of years, they can't hold on to the 3 golden pills. Li Xiu's eyes were cold, his sleeves and robe were waved lightly, and the remnant soul of the blood evil gun flew out with an ouch. The blood lines on the gun body twisted and howled, hundreds of shadows in the sword array swished around, and the gun soul popped, shattered into blood mist and was inhaled into the dantian. The spiritual pressure surged, the waste mine collapsed 10 feet with a boom, and the spiritual mist rolled wildly. Everyone's spiritual power felt like it was being pinched by a giant hand, and they couldn't breathe. Jiang Chen's thin face twisted, and he shouted in ecstasy, "Brother Xiu refines the blood gun." The spiritual pressure rises again, the sword formation fuses the blood, the Han family's blood pill is bullshit. Bai Ning's blue eyes flashed with brilliance, his pretty face turned crimson as he came closer, the fragrant wind filled his nostrils, and he gently pressed Li Xiu's arm with his jade hand, Master's divine power. The gun soul eats the spirit root. After the sword melting formation, he broke through the Han family's blood technique, and his ice and snow spiritual roots resonated, and his heartbeat was like a drum. Gu Xing's eyes widened, and his withered hands trembled as he pointed at the remains of the gun shadow. The immortal swung to destroy the soul. As the old man witnessed, Han Li's souls were all devoured. This sword is unparalleled, and it will undoubtedly shatter the blood palace. Before the inventory was over, the alchemy furnace in Li Xiu's palm reappeared, the high-level spiritual treasure black iron shield buzzed and melted into the furnace wall, the blood spirit beads exploded, the blood mist auxiliary medicine, and the spirit gathering array expanded to absorb the spiritual veins tenfold. 8 billion spiritual stones surged into the room like the Milky Way, the fire in the furnace reflected the night sky red, the fragrance of the medicine was strong and stifled the nose, and the mist mixed with the spiritual veins formed a whirlpool. The white jade fingers are flying, the spiritual power of ice and snow is injected into the remnants of the 1,000-year blood Ganoderma lucidum, the gulu in the furnace is boiling, and the golden elixir, ding, pops out, thousands of ice-blasting pills, blood evil formation breaking pills. The strong casual cultivator pounced on him and knelt on his knees after smelling the fragrance, ice explosion pill. A frozen gold pill bloodline, which can defeat the Han family's blood evil. Immortal Lord and Bai Xianzi join forces, and the Han family's elixir storehouse cannot produce as much as this furnace in 10 years. Gu Xing swallowed a blood evil formation breaking pill, the first sign of the golden pill solidified with a pop, spiritual light rushed to the top, and his withered face glowed like a new life, Immortal Lord pill. The old golden pill is stable in the early stage, and the Gu family has swallowed it all, the second golden pill of the alliance. Bai Ning's eyes swirled, and she came closer, and the fragrant wind filled her nostrils. Master, Ninger's ice and snow spiritual root resonates with Urjin Dan. When this elixir is refined, the inner demons will disappear. Han Xiao is competing, Ninger will follow. Li Xiu's eyes were soft, and he tapped his forehead. Well, the alliance needs you. Her pretty face was like fire, and her eyes were like a web of love. Li Xiu closed his eyes and performed the spell. The sword formation merged with blood, the golden elixir in the dantian expanded slowly, the spiritual stone was polished like water, the third layer of sword intent leaked out with a piercing cold light, and frost and snow covered the ground. Bai Ning quietly stood by, her eyes moving, and she said softly, "Master, after 3 days of training, Ninger will refine the ice armor pill for body protection, and then sneak into the blood palace." She leaned very close, the fragrance of ice and snow was fragrant in her nose, and her pretty face was slightly hot. Li Xiu nodded and his eyes softened for a moment. "Well, the alliance depends on you and me." Jiang Qin growled in the distance for training, Gu Xing distributed the power map, the rogue iron army practiced, boom boom, morale was like a rainbow in the night wind, and the fire of revenge was blazing. On the second day, there was a clang of shovels in the mine deep in the spirit vein. The Alliance Iron Army dug weak points at night according to the entire map of the mineral vein. The spirit stones, ding ding, came out and piled up into a hill. The strong man was sweating like rain, but he laughed wildly. "We have obtained the periphery of the Han family's mineral vein. Once the weak point is broken, the spiritual stone library is directly connected." Gu Shinku pointed out the map. "His Royal Highness the Blood Fiend fault, the spiritual vein is broken here, Han Xiao's blood sacrifice will collapse." Bai Ning's ice sword waved, and the frozen passage was hidden. His pretty face was firm. "Master, the map of the spiritual medicine library has been verified, and the forbidden pine in the back mountain will be broken by the ice explosion pill within 3 days, and all spiritual blood materials will be destroyed." At dawn on the third day, the spiritual light of the Immortal Lord Pavilion soared into the sky, and more than 100 iron troops stood at the top of the foundation building, and the spiritual pressure was like a tide crushing the ground. Jiang Chen raised his crutch high. "Brother Xiu." The intelligence network reported, "There is no flaw in the ancient talisman of the disguised jade token, the list of 5 insiders has been eliminated, the Han family suspects that Zhao Wuji has defected, the Dabi Blood Palace, Han Xiao personally holds the token, surrounded by 3 golden elixirs, and the old members of the Li family are blood relatives. 10 people are imprisoned." Li Xiu opened his eyes and swept the crowd with his sword. The strong man knelt down and yelled, "Invincible immortal! Kneel down!" Bai Ningyu held the sword in his hand and said with love in his eyes, "Master, Ninger follows the blood-breaking pill." Just as they were about to deploy, there was a sudden bang of thunder in the distance, blood clouds rolled in the direction of the Han family's clan, and the dong-dong of the bells sounded as fast as a war drum. Jiang Chen's face changed suddenly, his spiritual staff probed the air, his nose twitched with a premonition of blood. "Brother Xiu. The information is wrong." Han Xiao noticed the abnormal movement of the mine veins, and the competition was held in advance. Blood clouds covered the sky, and the 3 golden pills led Qian Jiji to attack the Immortal Lord Pavilion, shouting, "The Immortal Lord appears, otherwise the waste mine will be washed with blood, and the Li family's blood relatives will be sacrificed on the spot." Gu Xing trembled, her eyes widened. "No." Han Xiao Lingjue locked the old token, he made a blood sacrifice in advance, and the pavilion was surrounded. The white jade sword spun rapidly, the ice net opened, and the pretty face turned pale. "Master, the blood cloud consumes the spirit, the spiritual pressure of the 3 golden pills is nearly 50 miles, and the Iron Army can't stop it." The strong men of the Han family chattered, and their fists clenched. "The Han family is in full force. Are you going to fight?" The wind and sand in the abandoned mine are rolling, the blood cloud is overwhelming, the murderous intention is like a knife, the calm is shattering, and the crisis is like a landslide. The killing sword suddenly appeared in Li Xiu's eyes, and he said quietly, "Here he comes." The blood clouds above the abandoned mine were like giant beasts entrenched, the fishy wind blew against the face, mixed with the rusty blood, covering the sky and the moon, and the grey light of dawn twisted into a strange red light. The dong-dong sound of the bell was like a war drum beating the heart, making the steel beams creak and wail. The mist in the spiritual veins was torn into pieces by the bloody wind. The fragrance of elixirs became thin instantly, and the air was filled with signs of decay. The figures of more than 1,000 foundation-building Han family disciples emerged like a black tide, their spiritual pressure superimposed into mountains. The stone wall at the edge of the abandoned mine cracked with a bang, and rubble fell like rain, leaving bloody marks on the face of the strong Iron Army man. Their knees went weak, they gasped like cows, and beads of sweat rolled down their faces. The spiritual pressure of the 3 golden pills pressed meridians to pieces. Thousands of Han family troops, this is a wave of annihilation. The Gu family's young children screamed and held their heads, their cries echoed harshly, and their figures shrank into a ball in the mist. At the core of the blood cloud, the old monster in the middle stage of the 3 golden elixirs stood in the air, hunting in the sleeves of his robe, with a twisted and low growl on the ghostly face on the blood robe, and the aura of the golden elixir was like a blood moon, locking on the spiritual vein eyes of the abandoned mine. Han Ting, Han Li's brother, had a ferocious face, and the shadow of his blood gun pierced the clouds with a buzz, pointing directly at Li Xiu, Immortal Lord. Zhao Wuji defected, and the changes in the mines were all your work. The family leader Han Xiao has ordered to wash this pavilion with blood. The Li family's old 10 blood relatives will be sacrificed, and the spiritual veins will be cut off. The 3 major cultivating families have formed an alliance to block all the spiritual veins in the suburbs. You ants, kneel down or die. The sound was like thunder, the eardrums of the Iron Army were ringing, nosebleeds were spraying, and the fists of the strong men were shaking. Shaking the ground, 3 major families. The Yuaning ancestors of the Zhao family, the Qian family, and the Sun family have personally sealed the spiritual network. Our spiritual stone supply has been cut off, and our spiritual veins have dried up. The Immortal Lord Pavilion is over. Jiang Chen's crutch broke with a snap, his thin face turned as white as paper, and his spiritual staff he smelled the blood in the air and said, Brother Xiu, all the intelligence has collapsed. Han Xiao has joined forces with the 3 families. The Yuanying spiritual pressure has locked up on the outskirts of the city, the spiritual mist is shrinking, and the Iron Army's spiritual power is leaking. No matter how high our foundation building is, we can't stop Yuanying's finger. The white jade sword whirled sharply, and the ice net opened to protect everyone, but was crushed by the bloody wind and the blue light shattered. Her pretty face was as pale as snow, her sweat soaked her clothes, and her body curves were looming. She bit her lip and whispered, Master, the blood clouds eat the soul, the 3 golden elixirs join forces with the blood array to revive, the 1,000 foundations are like cannibalization, the spiritual vein eyes if it is broken, the elixir in the pavilion is useless. The blood relatives of the hidden branches of the Bai family are also on the funeral list, and Ning'er's heart is like a knife. Gu Xing's skinny body slumped down, the first sign of the golden elixir was dim, his cloudy eyes were round and protruding, and his withered finger pointed to the sky, I know. The 3 ancestors each control a spiritual network in the early stage of Yuanying. Han Xiao promised to share the profits with the blood elixir, and the blockade has been completed. The spiritual energy of the waste mine has receded like a tide, and the fog has turned yellow. The prototype of the alliance will be completely destroyed without the support of the golden elixir. The old casual cultivators scurried away with their teeth chattering, the Han family is under siege and the alliance has no jade tokens. All the inner ghosts are exposed. No matter how powerful the Immortal Lord is, he can still fight against 3 golden elixirs, and the nascent soul devours the soul, leaving no ashes. The air was as stagnant as lead, the wind and sand choked the nose with blood, the morale of the Iron Army collapsed, the roar turned into a wail, the steel frame of the waste mine tilted with a boom, and the spiritual veins, Gulu, whispered like a dying beast. Li Xiu put his hands behind his hands and raised his spiritual pulse eyes, his cold eyes swept over the blood clouds, calm as usual, the silk robe moved automatically without wind, the sword intention faintly leaked out into frost threads, and the mist, whispered, in the cold ice. Everyone looked up in despair and saw that he was as motionless as a mountain. Their hearts trembled slightly but they were still afraid. Immortal Lord, will you fight? The phantom of Han Ting's blood gun slammed down with an ouch and smashed the surrounding mine with a tentative blow. The rubble exploded like a cannonball. The 3 Iron Army men were bloody on the spot, and screamed piercingly. The golden elixir struck, and the foundation was as strong as paper. The Alliance Iron Army could not last more than 3 breaths. Jiang Chen's eyes were about to burst, and he whipped himself fiercely. Brother Xiu, retreat. The outer passage is dug, and the Lingxir hill can be taken. Bai Ning shed tears, and her jade hand clenched the hilt of the sword. Master, Ning'er is behind. His thoughts moved slightly, and the system panel flashed. Detection crisis level, nascent soul siege plus spiritual vein blockade. It is recommended to recharge 500 million spiritual stones to unlock the realm-breaking elixir formula, exclusively for golden elixirs, with a 99% breakthrough rate at the peak of foundation building. The balance is 8 billion, recharging. Ding! 500 million spiritual stones have arrived, with a total balance of 85 billion. The alchemy furnace is upgraded, and the spirit gathering array disk absorbs 10 times as much energy as possible. The majestic spiritual stone is like the Milky Way pouring over the Dantian. The golden elixir expands in a circle, the sword array is surrounded by blood, and the spiritual pressure rises quietly and crushes the stone slabs under the feet. Li Xiu lightly waved his sleeves and robe, and the black iron pill furnace reappeared. Blood streaks were vomited on the furnace wall. The residual power of blood spirit pearls was used as auxiliary medicine. 1000-year-old Ganoderma lucidum plus ice and snow spirit essence were added. 8 billion spirit stones poured in. The furnace fire roared into the sky and reflected the red blood cloud. The aroma of the medicine was as strong as a substance, dispersing the blood and drilling directly into everyone's nostrils. The strong man of the Iron Army was shocked when he smelled the fragrance. His meridians were loosened, and his eyes of despair burst into light. The fragrance of elixir goes against the bloody wind. The fire burns the clouds. The immortal master is refining the divine elixir again. Bai Ning's blue eyes widened, her pretty face flushed, and she came closer to the stove. Her jade fingers flew and injected ice spiritual power. Gulu boiled in the furnace, and the gold-patterned pills, ding ding ding, popped out. 300 realm-breaking pills. She murmured in a trembling voice, and the fragrant wind filled her nostrils. Master, the realm-breaking elixir. The peak of the foundation building reaches the golden elixir, and the fragrance melts into the spiritual roots. Ning'er feels that the bottleneck is shattered. Li Xiu nodded, and the elixir flew away from the palm of his hand, a falling white condensate on her lips. She swallowed with a gulp. The ice and snow spiritual roots exploded with a boom. The blue light of the meridians was like a tide. The pretty body was suspended in the air. The spiritual pressure surged so hard that the bloody wind retreated. The golden elixir omen solidified with a pop, and the peak of foundation building exceeded the early stage of the golden elixir. When she landed, her skirt was hunting, her jade sword buzzed loudly, and her eyes were filled with ecstasy. Golden elixir. Ning'er golden elixir. Master's 1 elixir. The spiritual pressure of the ice sword doubled, and the blood cloud was undoubtedly shattered. Taijun glared like a copper bell. The strong man's nosebleed stopped, and roared, White Fairy's golden elixir. Immortal Master's elixir, the 3rd golden elixir of the Alliance. Jiang Chen took the elixir and swallowed it. His thin body swelled with a boom. The cane turned into a spiritual whip and the air burst with a snap. The meridians thundered. The foundation building bottleneck was like broken glass. The spiritual light rushed to the top. The golden elixir was in the early stage. His thin face twisted in ecstasy, and the shadow of the whip swept across Taijun. I'm a golden elixir. Brother Xiu, Taijun swallows the elixir and builds the foundation of the iron wall. Gu Xingku took the elixir with trembling hands, and when he swallowed it, the aura of the golden elixir surged in the early stage. The golden elixir buzzed steadily, and he kowtowed hoarsely, Immortal Zun ends. In the middle stage of the old golden elixir, the bloodline of the Gu family is revived, so what if the spiritual veins are blocked? The strong men jumped at the remaining realm-breaking elixirs with envy. The meridians of those who swallowed them exploded, and the first sign of the golden elixir flashed for more than 10 people, and the edge of the blood cloud sizzled with the superimposed spiritual pressure. The old casual cultivator knelt down on his knees, his voice trembling like a sieve, 300 elixirs in one pot. The spiritual veins are dry due to the Yuanying blockade, the immortal master recharges the spiritual stones like water. The alliance has 5 golden elixirs, and the iron army is immortal. Han Ting's face suddenly changed in the blood cloud, and the shadow of the blood gun trembled, breaking through the realm pill. The abnormal movement of the spiritual stone is intensifying. Family leader, the immortal has a treasure house. The 3 golden pills joined forces to suppress the blood array, and the black tide of Qianzuji poured into the mine, and the killing sound was loud, destroy the pavilion. Li Xiu's eyes flashed, whispered, Ninger, give me some advice. Bai Ninger's golden elixir protected her body with spiritual pressure, her pretty face was firm and she leaned close to whisper, the scent was fragrant, Master, the 3 major alliances are in conflict. The ancestors of the Xiao family are greedy for blood elixirs, and the Qian family and the Sun family are fighting for the profits of the spiritual mines. Ninger Intelligence Network spreads false news, Han Xiao only swallows the secret blood of the Li family's old token, and the 3 families have no share. There are 5 ghosts in the fake jade token, and the alienation talisman is hidden, and the alliance collapses. Li Xiu nodded, and the ancient talisman flew out of his sleeve, and the 5 disguised jade tokens swished into the blood cloud, turning into defecting disciples. There was a whisper in the Han family formation, Han Xiao hid the Li family token for the exclusive use of the blood sacrifice, and the 3 ancestors were deceived. There was a sudden noise in the blood cloud, and the Qian family disciples roared, the Han family is monopolizing it. Ancestor, cut off the spiritual network. The Sun family built the foundation and drew their swords to chop at each other, if the benefits are not distributed equally, kill the Korean dog. Jiang Chen raised his golden elixir spiritual whip high, and his thin eyes exploded with murderous intent, Brother Xiu, raid on the warehouse. Intelligence, the weak passage in the Han family's peripheral elixir warehouse has been dug, and the Iron Army is with me. More than 100 iron troops were blessed with golden elixir spiritual pressure, roaring like thunder, Master Jiang, lead the team, smash Han's warehouse. They turned into black shadows and rushed into the hidden mine. The whip shadow opened the way and exploded to kill the Han family's forwards. Gu Xingku pointed out, the old man led the disguised team and hid in the Alliance branch's spiritual mine. The Li family's old token was forged with secret blood to subdue the defecting disciples. Li Xiu smiled lightly, and the blood shadow of the sword array quietly escorted Gu Xing with 30 iron troops hidden in the mist, heading straight for the Alliance branch on the outskirts of the city. Infiltrating quickly, the Alliance branch's spiritual mine made a click-click shovel sound. Gu Xing's fake jade sign flashed, and the guard's eyes widened, Elder Gu. The master of the house has an order, let him go. Deep in the mine, hundreds of defecting disciples sat cross-legged, and their expressions suddenly changed when they heard the ancient talisman's message, 3 major internal conflicts. Han Xiao only swallows the blood pill, we are with the Immortal Lord Pavilion. Gu Xing Jindan mid-stage. As soon as the spiritual pressure was released, the withered voice roared, Immortal Lord Pavilion accepts you. 1 realm-breaking pill, loyalty will lead to life. The traitors swallowed the pill in ecstasy, their meridians exploded, and they knelt down and trembled, the Immortal Lord is invincible. The spiritual mine collapsed, and the alliance was broken. The spiritual stone, ding ding, dumped the car, the weak point of the mineral vein exploded, boom, the alliance branch's fireworks skyrocketed, and the spiritual pressure wavered at the edge of the blood cloud. Jiang Chen's whip shadow was like a dragon, whipping everyone into the battle, swallow pills. The spiritual veins sit cross-legged, and the 3-day foundation building Iron Army is at its peak. The intelligence network is expanded, Zhao Wuji faked his death, and the weak points of the mines are dug at night, and I will personally inspect the peripheral passages. The strong men swallowed the pills with a gudong sound, and the meridians exploded continuously. The steel beams of the scrap mine creaked and bent, and the spiritual pressure was superimposed like mountains. Under the moon, the fortress of Xianzuan Pavilion began to take shape, and the sword shadows patrolled in the mist, and the fragrance of elixir overflowed. The mist in the spiritual veins of the abandoned mine surged again, and the fragrance of elixir pressed against the blood. Li Xiu watched the battle with his hands behind his back, his sword intent swept the sky with frost, and the blood cloud retreated 3 feet. Bai Ning leaned to the side, her pretty eyes full of admiration. Master is keeping a low profile. There is internal strife, the spiritual blockage is loosened, and the golden elixir iron army doubled. The iron army returned, and the strong man piled up spiritual stones like a mountain, kneeling and shouting, Xianzuan Pavilion strong. 300 traders, 3 spiritual mines collapsed. Gu Xing returned, with a withered face and an ecstatic expression, conquer all the defectors, and the alliance branch collapsed. Jiang Chen was dripping with blood and smiled thinly, the warehouse is empty, and the Han family's spiritual stone is broken. At the same time, Jiang Chen raided the Han family's warehouse, the spiritual whip like a dragon, snapped and exploded the guard's blood formation, the golden elixir iron army rushed in, the spiritual stone warehouse collapsed with a bang, thousands of spiritual stones poured down like a river. The strong men laughed wildly and grabbed it. Han Ku Kong. Lord Jiang is so powerful, the iron army is expanding. The blood clouds were in chaos, and the 3 golden elixirs yelled at each other, a divorce plan. Master, is Yuanying ancestor here in person? Han Ting's blood spears stabbed each other, and Qian Zhuji's formation was in chaos, screaming. The cracking sound of the steel frame of the waste mine was like broken bones, and the mist of the spiritual veins was crushed into yellow sand by the spiritual pressure of the 3 nascent souls. The lingering scent of red wine was instantly swallowed up by the fishy wind. Zun Yuanying's initial stage is pressing together. The meridians are like fire, and the spiritual power is cut off. Xianzuan Pavilion, it's over. Jiang Chen's golden elixir whip cracked in the air, but his thin body was weak, and his eyes were tearing like rain, and he shouted, Brother Xiu. The ancestor's soul is locked in the spirit net, and the Baijindan army is coming. We, the 5 golden elixirs, have no way to retreat. The spiritual veins are withered. Bai Ningbing's sword buzzed to protect her body, and the edge of her skirt was torn by the wind, revealing her snow-white calves. Her pretty face was as white as frost, her blue eyes flashed with fear, and her jade hands clenched the corners of the master's sleeves. Master. The nascent soul devours the soul for a moment, and the Ning'er ice network is shattered to pieces. On the verge of extinction. Gu Xing slumped down, and the fragments of the family token rolled down the sand. The spiritual light in the middle stage of the golden elixir was as dim as a candle. His cloudy eyes protruded, and he scratched the soil with his withered fingers and trembled, the old order of the Li family. Immortal Lord, this is the fragment of the Gu family's bloodline. Han Xiao's blood sacrifice has not been completed. The 3 ancestors joined forces, and the 500 iron troops of the Immortal Lord Pavilion were instantly transformed into blood mud. The figures of the 3 ancestors of the Yuanying descended from the sky like ghosts. The ancestors of the Zhao family were withered bones like firewood, and bloodlines squirmed on the sleeves of their robes. The spiritual pressure of the Yuanying turned into a black net that buzzed down. The ancestors of the Qian family hung their fat bodies in the air, and the ancestors of the Sun family raised their sword eyebrows. The eyes of the 3 of them were blazing with greed, and they locked on Li Xiu, Immortal Lord. The blood cloud of the Han family is in chaos, and there is internal strife. You have your hand. Rumors spread that Han Xiao had swallowed the secret blood of the Li family's old token, but the spiritual veins were changing, and the scent of the realm-breaking elixir was soaring. Boy, kneel down and offer the treasure house, the 3 ancestors spared your life. The sound was like a landslide, the waste or wall collapsed like a meteor, and the 3 iron soldiers exploded with flesh and blood on the spot, and the screams echoed ear-piercingly. Hundreds of golden elixir masters rushed down with the army, hunting in black robes, the spiritual pressure superimposed into a sea, the sword light and gun shadow, swish, tore through the fog, and went straight to the spiritual vein eye, destroy the immortal zone. Rumor has it about the spiritual stone wallet, plunder it. The shadow of Han Ting's blood gun reunited, his face contorted and he laughed wildly. The master of the family, Han Xiao, has prepared a blood sacrifice, and the heads of the 10 blood relatives of the Li family will be rolled. Li Xiu stood in the fog with his hands behind his back, his silk robe was windless, his eyes swept over the 3 ancestors, and he sneered like a sword in his heart. In the previous life, the immortal king swept across the 9 heavens, and the nascent soul was just an ant in the beginning. In this life, Han Xiao was reincarnated as a dog thief and joined forces with this generation to avenge the blood debt, and the sword should be washed with his blood. The balance of the spiritual stone wallet is 8.5 billion, tens of thousands of spiritual stones are piled up in Han Xiao, and the alliance mineral veins are disintegrating like mountains of spiritual stones. It takes only a thought to approach Yuanying, but the desire to advance first suppresses, making Taijun extremely desperate, and then shows the power of the Immortal Lord to shock the whole city. The 3 major spiritual pressures locked the soul, his meridians trembled slightly but the sword intent was frozen, and he said softly, 3 nascent souls, unite with the Han Dog Slaughter Pavilion? Interesting. You blood elixirs are greedy for fire, and the internal strife is not settled, so you will die in person. The psychological game is like lightning. If the instant kill is not satisfying enough, you must first make everyone weak at the knees, ridicule like a tide, and then kill with thousands of swords. The ancestor of the Zhao family smiled like a ghost, the black net of the nascent soul hissed and tightened, Li Xiu's silk robe cracked, and the iron army spurted out blood arrows. The strong men held their heads and wailed, Immortal Lord, the spiritual pressure eats the heart, and the soul is scattered. We have 500 iron troops, more than 10 golden elixirs, and the nascent soul flies away with 1 finger. Qian Sun, the second ancestor of the Yuanying, swallowed the spiritual light. Vomiting, Bai Ning rushed into the mine like a pack of wolves, the sword energy bombed the steel frame, Gu Xing's body was crushed 10 feet away, and he vomited blood after smashing the wall, fragments of the token. Immortal Lord, I offer the blood of the Gu family to help you break the nascent soul. Li Xiu moved, and the system panel flashed, crisis upgrade, 3 major nascent souls plus Bai Ning attack. It is recommended to recharge 1 billion spirit stones to unlock the spirit stone wallet burst mode. The cultivation level is close to 99% of Yuanying, and thousands of swords will fly together to build the foundation pill. The balance is 8.5 billion, recharging. Ding! 1 billion spiritual stones have arrived, with a total balance of 9.5 billion. The 4th level of Immortal Master Technique is activated, and the prototype of the sword intent Yuanying is condensed. The majestic spiritual energy poured into the Dantian like the Milky Way, the golden elixir, bang, expanded 3 times, the spiritual pressure rose quietly to the edge of the nascent soul, the blood shadow of the sword formation swished 400 miles, the mist of the spiritual veins under the feet surged, and the black net sizzled, corroded. Seeing this, Gu Xing grabbed the ground with his withered hands and crawled closer. The blood-stained token fragments buzzed and flew into Li Xiu's palm. The ancient jade token fragments glowed with blood and merged into the bloodline of the Immortal Lord between his eyebrows. Immortal Lord, the old branch of the Gu family and the Li family, Han Xiao's blood sacrifice lack of this. The bloodline is improved, and the sword intent is designed to break through the weakness of Yuanying. Li Xiu's eyebrows flashed with golden patterns, and he was shocked. The bloodline of the Immortal Lord in the previous life was revived, and the 3 Yuanying statues were like paper. Han Xiao was a dog thief who harmed my family in the previous life, and his blood debt will be doubled in this life. Smiling lightly and waving his sleeves, thousands of blood fiend formation breaking pills dinged, and flew into the iron army. The strong man swallowed the meridians and made a popping sound. The golden elixirs flashed together, and the roar shook the sky, array-breaking pill. Blood fiend's body protection, nascent soul is crushed to nothing. Jiang Chen's thin eyes exploded with murderous intent, and his spirit shook the sky. Raising the whip high, he commanded the Iron Army, "Brothers, fight back. Brother Xiu has calculated the mountain of spiritual stones from the warehouse veins, and the iron wall cannot be broken." The spiritual pressure of the 500 Iron Army was superimposed, turning into a black tide to welcome hundreds of golden elixirs. Bai Ning's pretty face was determined, her blue eyes locked on the master, and her jade hands made a secret, "Master, Ninger's magical power of ice, freeze the enemy's army." The ice and snow spiritual root golden elixir burst out, Luo Kun hunted, she was spinning in the air, the ice network, kick, expanded 100 feet, the cold air, hissed, and froze the forward golden elixir, the enemy's robe sleeves were brittle, and the spiritual ice was shattered, and they screamed, ice-sealing magical power. The Bai family's hidden branch Gold Dan, the frozen meridians are broken. The Qian family's golden elixir's fat face was distorted, but the Yuanying's body protection was weak and skating, the alliance collapsed. The Bai Ning ice sword, the edge of the Yuanying was frozen. The three ancestors' eyes were round and bulging, Zhao Zuku yelled, "You are looking for death." The black net gathered wildly, but Bai Ning used the opportunity to counterattack, and the ice-blasting elixir assisted, bombing, and the frozen cloud enveloped the enemy's 50 golden elixirs, and the ice sculptures fell to the ground and exploded. Li Xiu saw that the time was ripe and made a cold calculation in his heart, everyone was in despair, the supporting characters were fearful and worshipful, and thousands of swords were slaughtered, shocking the whole audience. He shouted, "Spiritual stone wallet, explode." 9.5 billion spiritual stones buzzed out, turning into a galactic rain of swords and, whooshing, thousands of swords flew together. Each sword was frost-cold and bloody, specifically designed to break the weak veins of the foundation-building pill, and went straight towards the black tide of the 100 gold pill. The rain of swords was like a punishment from heaven, and the air was hissing and tearing. Han Ting's blood gun was the first to bear the phantom, and the gun body clicked and shattered into powder. Han Ting's eyes bulged, and blood spurted out, 10,000 swords, the spirit stone turned into a sword. The Immortal Lord forced the nascent soul, and the sword intent ate the soul. None of the 100 gold pills were spared. The sword light penetrated the body and, pop, blood holes opened, the spiritual power exploded like fireworks, and the bloody rain poured down, making the waste mines and blood flow across the river. The strong man of the Iron Army glared like a dead fish, stopped his nosebleeds and roared, "The Immortal Lord kills the golden elixir with 10,000 swords. Hundreds of enemies are wiped out in an instant, and the spiritual stones are like rivers. We, the Iron Army, witnessed the miracle." Jiang Chen's whip shadow danced wildly, his thin face twisted in ecstasy, "Brother Xiu, Yuanying is by your side. The alliance's pawns are flying into ashes, and the Iron Army is counterattacking." The faces of the three great ancestors of Yuanying were livid, and their spiritual pressure surged back to counterattack. The black net sword light and Yuanying light all hit Li Xiu. However, the Immortal Lord's bloodline-enhanced sword formation buzzed, and the blood evil broke through. The net shattered and the light broke, and the light devoured, the bloodline backfires. The old order of the Li family, the blood of the Immortal Lord. Zhao Zu's withered arm was broken, and he screamed in agony. Withdrawing, the prototype of Yuanying, the second ancestor of Qian and Sun, trembled and yelled at each other, "Retreat! Han Xiao swallows the secret blood alone, and the alliance will be ruined." The masters were defeated, and the black-robed shadow fled. The mist of the waste mine returned and the red fragrance filled the blood river. The Iron Army pounced on the spirit stone enemy, roaring like thunder, "Pursuit!" The iron wall of the Immortal Pavilion, the ancestor of Yuanying kneels down. Li Xiu swept his sword with frost, and chased him to the edge of the Han family. He hunted in silk robes, and his heart boiled with murderous intent. "Han Xiao, the sacrifices in the Blood Palace are about to begin, the magic weapon from the past life may be revealed, and revenge is fierce." Outside the Blood Palace of the Han family, the blood clouds reunited. Han Xiao's figure suddenly appeared, his eyes locked with spiritual sense, holding the blood jade magic weapon of the previous life. Bing, the blood light shot to the sky. Li Xiu, the reincarnated immortal. The blood debt of the previous life, now the blood sacrifice is settled. Li Xiu smiled lightly, and the blood shadow of the sword array locked the palace. Thief, come. There was a loud bang in the blood palace, and the white-hot revenge was about to take place. Outside the blood palace, blood clouds rolled like boiling ink, and the fishy wind mixed with the stench of rotting souls assaulted the nostrils. The strong men of the Iron Army had just chased here, and their steps suddenly froze, their thick arms trembled like chaff, and their noses were as hot as if they had swallowed sulfur. They roared in unison, "Blood Palace! The blood clouds are reunited. The Han family's all-soul sacrifice, the souls are wailing like the needle pricked the brain, and the Iron Army's meridians burned again." Jiang Chen leaned forward, and threw out the whip flowers with a pop of the spiritual whip, but it was counterattacked by the bloody wind. His knees hit the ground and splattered with blood and mud. His eyes were about to burst, and his teeth were biting with bloody threads as he stared at the palace door. "Brother Xiu." The blood jade magic weapon buzzed, Han Xiao's spiritual sense was locked, and the 3 Yuaning remnants rushed into the palace. There were more than 500 iron armies, and the black tide she was bent over by the blood cloud. There is no way to escape, the soul bite is coming. Bai Ninglua's skirt was stained with blood, the ice sword buzzed, but the frost layer cracked, her pretty face was as white as paper, her blue eyes flashed with fear, her jade hands tightly grasped the corners of the master's sleeves and trembled. "Master, the blood palace restrictions are fully opened, all ghosts are crying, Ning'er's ice net melts like wax, and her spiritual power is broken." Han Xiao was a dog thief in his previous life, and his family's blood debt broke out now. Gu Xing knelt half down, and the blood fragments were sacrificed. The afterglow of the family token was dim. His cloudy eyes bulged, and he scratched his chest with his withered fingers and coughed up blood, the blood soul flag. Han Xiao's magic weapon in his previous life summoned thousands of ghosts to devour their souls, and all the golden elixirs and souls were turned into ashes. The palace door exploded with a bang, blood light erupted into the sky like a volcano. Han Xiao hunted in black robes, his face twisted and ferocious like a ghost king, holding a blood jade magic weapon, buzzing, bloodlight, his eyes locked on Li Xiu like a knife, and his wild laughter exploded in the air like thunder, causing Tiejuan's eardrums to buzz and bleed. "Li Xiu. Reincarnated Immortal Lord. In the past life, you swept through the 9 heavens, and I, Han Xiao, wiped out all your Li family members, and the heads of 10 blood relatives rolled into the palace. In this life, the old members of the Han family and the hidden branches of the Bai family are all blood-fed. Zuanzong, I will eat your soul forever." The blood jade hissed, and the flag spread out, and thousands of ghosts screamed out. The sky was covered with blackness like locusts, and each ghost's bloody claws were thick, and the soul cried like thousands of needles piercing the brain. The rotten wind penetrated the nose, and the strong man of the Iron Army was the first, and he fell to the ground with thick arms holding his head and spraying blood, screaming. Film, thousands of ghosts devour the hearts. The souls are torn apart, the Iron Army's golden elixir is shattered. Immortal Lord, we have 500 iron walls, and we will eat blood. Hundreds of ghosts rushed towards Jiang Chen, and the white ice net popped to freeze and shatter 10 ghosts. However, 10 ghosts were eaten back by the soul fire, and her skirt was burned. In the palace where the ancestors of the 3 great Yuaning ancestors were hiding, the flesh and blood of Zhao Zu's withered arm was writhing and reborn. The prototype of the Yuaning of the second ancestor Qian and Sun was trembling. They looked at each other with greed in their eyes. Zhao Zu smiled like a night owl. "Young boy Han, the blood soul banner is so powerful, all the alliance mineral veins and spirit stones belong to us. Li Xiu. Kneel down and offer your wallet, or all the ghosts will bite you first." Qian Zu's fat body was hanging in the air, and Sun Zu's sword eyebrows were standing upright. The 3 people's spiritual pressure combined to push up the blood cloud. The ghost tide surged toward Li Xiu like a tsunami. The ruins outside the hall collapsed with a rumbling, and the bloody river flowed into the sky. Li Xiu stood in the bloody wind with his hands behind his back, hunting in his silk robe. His meridians were slightly trembled by the pressure of thousands of ghosts, but the frost of his sword did not move at all, and he sneered like ice in his heart. In the previous life, the blood soul flag could not be touched by the Immortal Lord, but now Han Xiao was reincarnated as a dog thief Lien Yuanying and, avenging the blood debt, overpowering the crowd to the extreme despair, and then exploded. With the divine power of the Yuanying, the supporting character soul flew away and stared, shocking the whole city. He said softly, "Blood soul flag. The thing that destroyed the family in the previous life, I will send you back to the west now." Han Xiao's eyes bulged, and the blood flag waved wildly, and the ghosts locked Li Xiu's soul with an ouch, and the black claws tore through the air with an ear-piercing hiss sound, gnawing directly at the center of his eyebrows. The Iron Army was in despair. The strong men knelt down and held their heads, with nosebleeds on their faces and roared, "Immortal Lord!" 10,000 ghosts surrounded the sect. In an instant, our Iron Army was reduced to ashes. Brother Xiu has lost all his calculations. Jiang Chen broke his arm with a whip, his thin face was twisted and fearful of the light flashing. "Brother Xiu, the blood soul can only break through the sword, and there is no golden elixir left." Bai Ningyu's body was limp, and her blue eyes locked onto Li Xiu with tears. "Master. Ning'er is unwilling, the ice sword is broken." Gu Shinku roared, "The blood fragments are all gone, Han Go is intact, and the Immortal Lord Pavilion is dead." The three ancestors all laughed, and the black-netted sword radiated Yuan Ying's light to attack Li Xiu, trying to take advantage of the chaos. Han Xiao was ecstatic, "Destroy. The blood debt is settled." Li Xiu's eyes turned cold, and the fragment of the old order of the Li family in his palm, buzzed with blood, and merged into the bloodline of the Immortal Lord at the center of his eyebrows. Peak of crisis, recharge 5 billion spirit stones to force a breakthrough to the early stage of nascent soul. The balance is 9.5 billion, recharging. Ding! 5 billion spirit stones have arrived, with a total balance of 4.5 billion. The fifth level of Immortal Master Technique is activated, and the Immortal Master Reincarnation Sword awakens. The Dantian bombs like a starburst, the spiritual pressure of the early stage of the nascent soul surges, the silk robe bulges without wind, the blood river flows back under the feet, and the souls of all the ghosts sizzle, evaporate, and the putrid smell intensifies. The strong man of the Iron Army stared wide-eyed, stopped his nosebleed and trembled. "Immortal Lord," the golden pattern of bloodline flashes. The spiritual pressure counterattacks the blood cloud, Yuanying. Brother Xiu breaks through the Yuanying. Jiang Chen stood up on the ground with thin arms, his eyes were about to fall and roared, "Brother Xiu, the early stage of Yuanying." The wallet exploded, Tai Jun witnessed the miracle again. Bai Ning's pretty face turned red, his blue eyes blazing with fire. "Master's bloodline is intact, Ning'er's ice heart is rekindled." Gu Xing kowtowed with blood and tears, "The old order of the Li family has been inherited. The Immortal Master has returned, and the Gu family owes a debt of blood." Han Xiao's face was ashen, the blood soul flag was trembling wildly, but the ghost shadow melted. He roared tremblingly, "Impossible. Nascent soul, 5 billion spirit stones. Infinite wallet." The three ancestors stared blankly, and Zhao Zu's withered arm regenerated and broke. The bloodline of the Li family specializes in breaking the nascent soul. Retreat. Li Xiu shouted, "The Immortal Lord's Reincarnation Sword." The shadow of the golden sword between the eyebrows buzzed, and the intention of the reincarnation sword spread out like a vortex of time and space. Each sword was mixed with the power of reincarnation, and the galaxy sword rain, swish, and thousands of swords flew together, specializing in devouring the weak core of the blood soul. The sword light tore through the air and there was an endless, hissing, sound. All the ghosts ouched and exploded into a bloody mist. The fishy wind turned into red incense and pressed down on the top. The blood soul flag, Kra, broke the bones. Han Xiao fell back 10 feet with a spurt of blood. His eyes bulged and trembled as he shouted, "Sword of reincarnation. Immortal technique of the past life." Blood soul 10,000 ghosts, instantly destroyed, the Han family's blood palace was shattered. The strong man of the Iron Army sprayed hot air from his nostrils and shook the sky with his fist. The Immortal Lord Samsara sword kills thousands of ghosts. The power of the nascent soul, the iron wall is immortal. Jiang Chen's whip shadow reunited, his thin face twisted in ecstasy. Brother Xiu sealed the blood palace with one sword, and the alliance was wiped out. The three great nascent souls counterattacked with their spiritual pressure, and the black net sword light blasted together. Li Xiu's sword intention turned, and the Samsara sword fell like a heavenly wheel. The air froze with a buzz, and the second ancestor Zhao Qian's throat clacked. The prototype of the nascent soul shattered with a pop. The alliance is bad, the whole picture of the Sun family's minds. Li Xiu swept away the sword energy and sealed Sun Tzu's dantian. Sun Tzu was covered in cold sweat and trembled, yes. The whole place was dead silent, and the remaining walls of the blood palace collapsed with a roar. The mist of the spiritual veins surged to the sky again. The Iron Army rushed to grab the spiritual stones and roared like thunder. The immortal master shocked the whole city, and the Han family's blood debt was settled. The news spread like wind throughout the world of immortal cultivators. The spiritual senses of the hidden masters in the city trembled. The wine glass dropped to the ground in the casual cultivator restaurant. The old monster whispered, "Li Xiu of the Immortal Lord Pavilion." The nascent soul reincarnation sword slaughtered 10,000 ghosts, and the three ancestors knelt down. The blood soul of the Han family was shattered, and the alliance's mineral veins were gone. The pretty girl from the hidden branch of the Bai family glared, "Senior sister Bai Ning, Bing Wangfu Immortal Lord, Goddess." Li Xiu stood up in the ruins of the temple with his hands behind his back, his silk robe stained with blood, and announced in a low voice, the sound of which spread like a sword through the city, "Han Xiao was reincarnated as a dog thief in his previous life, and he wiped out the Li family with blood debts, and now his blood soul the banners were shattered, the three nascent souls knelt down, the Han family's crime was revealed." The Lingshire wallet was shocked, the immortal pavilion was ironclad, and the whole city's immortal cultivators obeyed the order. The remaining members of the Han family should be killed without mercy. Tai Jun kowtowed enthusiastically, and Jiang Chen shed tears. Brother Xiu's hatred has been released, Tai Jun will follow you forever. Bai Ning's hand covered his heart, his blue eyes burning like flames, "Master. Ningya will follow you to the death." Gu Xing smiled, "Blood inheritance, revenge." Then there was a loud rumbling in the sky again, and the figures of the three ancestors in the early stage of nascent soul suddenly appeared, with spiritual pressure like the sky falling, and the blood clouds were shattered. The old and skinny face was gloomy. "The Han family is alienating. Who is the Immortal Lord, dare to destroy the alliance?" The nascent soul pressure locked the pavilion, and the waste mines were all shattered. The Iron Army trembled, and despair surged again. The three ancestors are here in person, the decisive battle is about to begin. Li Xiu's eyes flashed with a killing sword, and said softly, "Interesting." In the ruins of the Blood Palace, the fragrance of elixirs filled the air like mist. The strong men of the Iron Army were sweating with thick arms, and their breaths were as heavy as cattle. They grabbed the scattered spiritual stones, ding-dong, and stuffed them into storage bags. They stepped on the bloody mud and splashed fishy flesh. The roar shook the dust on the remaining walls, the power of the Immortal Lord. The blood souls and ghosts are turned into ashes, and the spiritual vein mines are scattered. Hide everything and return to the iron wall. Jiang Chen's thin body jumped up, and the spiritual whip snapped around Sun Tzu's neck and dragged it. The broken part of Sun Tzu's sword eyebrow was squirming with blood. His yuaning was as dim as a candle. His knees hit the ground with a thunk sound. Cold sweat poured down his face like rain, and he kowtowed in a trembling voice, "Immortal Lord, the deep headquarters of Han Xiao, the ultimate force hiding the blood ancestral hall, the peak protector of San Yuaning. Bai Ning Luo's skirt was bleeding and the burning smell was pungent. Her blue eyes locked onto Li Xiu, her jade hand gently touched the ice sword and it buzzed, her pretty face flushed and whispered, "Master kills Yuanying with the reincarnation sword, Ninger's ice heart boils, casual cultivator allies." Gu Shinku pointed at the center of Sun Tzu's eyebrows, and his bloodline's secret technique flashed. Sun Tzu's eyes bulged, his throat rattled like an iron nail, and he roared, "Han Xiao, the blood demon in his previous life was reincarnated. The blood soul banner is his treasure from the immortal world, and he is destined to be vengeance after destroying the entire Li family." Li Xiu stood at the ruins with his hands behind his back, the blood on his silk robe shimmered with golden patterns, his eyes were frost-cold and locked in the depths of the blood palace, and the dark light pulsed in the depths of the blood palace. Murderous intent surged in his heart, the dog thief summoned the ultimate power. The blood ancestral hall, the headquarters of the Han family, has a secret past life, and its spiritual veins have all been destroyed, thus breaking its foundation. He said softly. The Iron Army obeyed the order and went straight to the Han family's headquarters. Jiang Qintong's grandson presented a plan, Bai Ninglian and the scattered cultivators defected, and Gu Xing exposed the shady story. The blood debt will be settled in one battle. The strong men of the Iron Army roared in unison, stomping on the ground with thick legs and blood splashing into the sky, carrying the bag of spiritual stones and charging forward like a mountain, inhaling the fragrance of elixir in their noses and saying enthusiastically, "Follow Immortal Master's order." The iron wall of the Han family's headquarters is leveled. The hidden masters in the city trembled, and the old man in the restaurant smashed his wine glass, his withered face twisted and muttered, "Li Xiu Yuaning reincarnation sword. Han family blood ancestral hall, the 3 Yuaning peak. The Immortal Lord Pavilion's Iron Army is fully controlled, and the Korean dog is doomed." In the blood mist at dawn, the Iron Army surged towards the mountain gate of the Han family's headquarters like a black tide. Hundreds of miles of spiritual veins hummed. The Han family built more than 10,000 gold elixir defenders. There were dense black armor and iron spears. The formation flags whirred and hunted. The fishy wind and the smell of sulfur hit their faces. Han Lai, the general of the Han family, reached the peak of his golden elixir. His black gun bombed the mountain gate. His spiritual pressure was like a mountain, and he roared, "Li Xiu, you ant. The blood palace is shattered." The blood ancestral hall of the headquarters, the 3 nascent soul ancestors' spiritual pressure locked the city, and your Iron Army of 500 will die. The Han family's spiritual veins are thousands of years old, and the spiritual stone library is worth billions. It's crushing. You're like a worm. The strong man at the front of the Iron Army rushed into the formation and punched the black armor with a bang bang, but was counterattacked by the spear array. His meridians were burning and blood spurted out from his nose. More than 10 golden elixirs fell to the ground with weak knees and screamed, "The poison of the Han family's spear array is backlashed," and the golden elixir shattered. Jiang Chen the spiritual whip whipped wildly, and the black gun, ding-dong, sparks flew everywhere. His skinny arms retreated 3 feet, and his eyes were about to split. "Brother Xiu, the headquarters is surrounded by thousands of troops, the source of the spiritual vein is hidden deep in the blood ancestral hall, and the Iron Army is building the foundation and burning scriptures." Bai Ningbing's net, kicked, was rolled out to freeze hundreds of spears, but was heated by the spiritual vein. The waves of wax melted, her skirt was wet with sweat, and her blue eyes were flashing with fear. "Master, the casual cultivator allies are hesitant, Han Lai is mocking the Thai army as useless." Gu Xing withered to protect the formation, and his bloodline spells backfired on him and he coughed up blood. Han Xiao's shady plot has not been revealed, the ultimate power has not emerged, the Thai army is in despair. Han Lai burst into the air with laughter like thunder, causing Tiejuan's eardrums to buzz and bleed. The black gun swallowed the spirit flames and burned the air with a hiss. His eyes showed contempt, "Li Xiu Yuanying." The blood soul flag was shattered and defeated. The source of the spiritual veins of the headquarters. Billions of spiritual stones protect the mountain gate. You and your souls will fly away. The shadows of thousands of soldiers' spears came like a forest, and the strong man of the Taijun fell to his knees with blood in his arms. His face twisted in despair. Immortal Lord, the spiritual veins are overwhelming, the golden elixir is gone, the iron wall is shattered. Sun Tzu was dragged by the whip, his withered lips trembled. The 3 Yuan Yings of the blood ancestral hall, Han Xiao's reincarnation, need to be exposed by Mr. Gu. Li Xiu stood up, hunted in silk robes, the Yuan Ying's spiritual pressure trembled slightly, and the blood mist invaded the body. He sneered and suppressed the despair first, and then the revenge sword came out to shock the soul. The palm wallet system flashed, peak of crisis, headquarters spirit vein defense line, recharge tens of billions of spirit stones, and refine sect amulets. The balance is 4.5 billion, recharging. Ding! 10 billion spiritual stones have arrived, and the total balance is negative 5.5 billion, the system has unlimited debt. The talisman refining technique of Immortal Master Technique is activated, and there are thousands of Iron Army talismans to prevent spiritual vein backlash plus sword intention blessing. The dantian boomed, and the stars surged, tens of billions of spiritual stone light spots, buzzed, and gathered in the palm of the hand, the golden patterns of ancient talismans condensed into thousands of jade talismans like dragons, and the fragrance of dantian soared to the sky to suppress the fishy wind. The strong man of the Iron Army glared, his nosebleed stopped, and he grabbed the talisman with his thick fingers. The talisman buzzed against his chest and the golden light bloomed. The burning heat in his meridians disappeared instantly, and his thick arms regained their strength and roared, the Immortal Lord has a wallet of tens of billions. The talisman's divine light, the backlash of the spiritual veins is ineffective, and the iron wall is rekindled. Jiang Chen's thin eyes were filled with tears. Whip the shadow storm flew away. Han Lai's black spear, Brother Xiu is a master of calculation, and the unified army massacres the headquarters. Bai Ning took the talisman in his hand, the ice sword was condensed with frost, and his blue eyes worshipped the fire. Master refined the talisman with tens of billions of spiritual stones, and Ning'er's ice network is invincible. Gu Xing laughed with tears of blood, exposed the black curtain and roared, the sound was like blood thunder spreading across the mountain. Han Xiao was reincarnated as a blood demon in his previous life. The Holy Family was destroyed, and the Blood Soul banner was a relic of the immortal world. The Han family's spiritual veins were built with blood sacrifices from thousands of souls. The whole city's casual cultivators obeyed the order. Han Go's shady story was revealed, and Lien Bai Ning turned against him. Thousands of casual cultivators outside the mountain gate felt shocked, and the pretty girl in the restaurant dropped her cup, eyes bulging, Gu Xing's bloodline mantra. Han Xiao is reincarnated as a demon, senior sister Bai Ning is a goddess, and the rogue cultivators have defected. Xian Sancho's black tide turned against him, and the sword light swished towards the Han army. Han Lai's face was ashen, and his black gun shattered and blood spurted out. Impossible. The rogue cultivators rebelled, and their spiritual veins. Li Xiu shouted, Sword of Samsara, break the spiritual veins. The phantom of the golden sword between his eyebrows, buzzed, and exploded, and the galaxy's sword rain and thousands of talisman lights hissed, and ripped into the air, devouring the source of the spiritual veins. The force of reincarnation of each sword's frost-cold blood seeped into the earth's veins. The gun array of the Han family's tens of thousands of soldiers shattered with a click, and the foundation building pill fell to the ground with blood spurting out, screaming like an insect. The spiritual veins are destroyed. The meridians are broken, the foundation of the Han family is gray. The golden light of the amulet of the strong man of the Iron Army protected his body, his thick legs stomped the black armor, and the hot breath roared, the sword rain of the Immortal Lord cuts the spiritual veins. Tens of billions of amulets are invincible, and the iron wall is invincible, slaughter the Korean army. Jiang Chen slimmed down and sneaked into the intelligence room. The black shadow flashed and pulled away the restriction. He stole the secret room map of Han Xiao's training and put it in his pocket. He roared ecstatically, "Brother Xiu! I got the secret room map. Han Xiao is hiding in the core of the blood ancestral hall." The remaining golden elixir of the Han family knelt down like ants, with a bruised nose and a swollen face, and kowtowed, "Immortal Lord, spare your life. Donate all the spiritual stone treasury, and hand over all the power of the Han family." Gu Shinku pointed to everyone's eyebrows, and sealed the dantian with the bloodline technique. Everyone trembled in cold sweat. "Follow. Han Xiao occupies the headquarters alone, there is no way to counterattack." Li Xiu lightly scanned the map, his sword intent locked the blood of the ancestral hall, pulsing deep, and sneered in his heart, "Dog thief, the foundation has been destroyed, show up and die." The Iron Army robbed hundreds of millions of spiritual stones, and the strong man carried the treasure with his thick arms and roared, "The spiritual veins of the Han family are completely destroyed, and the minerals belong to the Immortal Lord Pavilion. The Iron Wall strengthens the army." The spiritual senses of the hidden masters in the city collapsed, and the old monster on the mountain had withered eyes and protruded, and he kowtowed after losing the smell of alcohol. Li Xiu refined tens of billions of talismans to cut off the spiritual veins, and scattered them. Xiu turned his back to seize the Korean power, and the Yuaning divine power despised the Korean headquarters. "I am the only one in heaven and earth." Bai Ning's jade body leaned forward, and Fu's heart was burning. "Master's low-key revenge, Ninger is very happy to witness." Jiang Chen's thin face twisted into tears. "Brother Xiu's hatred will continue, and the Iron Army will always follow." The door of the blood ancestral hall exploded with a bang. Han Xiao's blood robe was torn like a beggar, and his face was twisted and pale like a ghost. The blood ancestral token in his hand buzzed, and the blood light was dim. The peak protector of the three Yuaning was in a skinny black robe floating in the air, and his spiritual pressure was superimposed like a mountain but trembling. Shaking unsteadily, Han Xiao's eyes were bulging and bloodshot, and his voice was as hoarse as a broken bellows. "Li Xiu. Your spiritual veins are completely destroyed. Tens of billions of wallets. Immortal in the past life, bad luck in this life. The ultimate blood sacrifice in the blood ancestral hall, the three ancestors join forces to devour your essence, baby." The three guardians looked at each other with flashes of fear, their withered arms shaking like leaves. "Master Han, the headquarters is empty, the scattered cultivators are rebelling, and there is no way to retreat." Han Lai crawled to the ground, his knees weak, and blood spurted on the ground. "The master of the house, the Iron Army talisman is invincible, and the spiritual blood sacrifice is broken. The Han family. I regret that I should have destroyed the Li family." Han Xiao roared with despair and regret, the blood debt of the previous life. The 10,000 years of the Han family's foundation will be destroyed in one day. "Li Xiu, you win." "No, the blood ancestor orders last fight." The strong man of the Iron Army stared at the copper bell eyes, and roared with hot breath from his nostrils, "Han Xiao's dog thief appears. Kneel down in regret." The Immortal Lord's sword came out, and the blood ancestral hall was shattered. Jiang Chen whipped the shadow to lock the three guardians, and his thin eyes were killing fire. "Brother Xiu, the secret room map is locked, Han Go can't escape." Bai Ningbing's sword buzzed, and Han Xiao with blue eyes sneered, "The secret is revealed, the reincarnated devil is at the peak of revenge." Gu Xing smiled coldly, "Blood hatred, the Han family is finally destroyed." Sun Tzu kowtowed and trembled. Han Xiao was desperate, and the Immortal Lord reincarnation sword slaughtered him. The whole place was dead silent, and the bloody wind in the blood ancestor hall reversed the danxiang. Han Xiao grabbed the token and his hands were shaking like a sieve, and his face was filled with tears of regret. "The Li family is full. I was wrong. I was greedy in my previous life. I don't regret it. It's time." Li Xiu's eyes were as bright as a sword, his silk robe was windless, and he said quietly, "Blood debt, blood repayment. Han family headquarters, death." The sword was gathering momentum, and the blood ancestor hall's ground trembled. The decisive battle at the peak of revenge was on the verge of an undercurrent of murderous intent. In the depths of the blood ancestral hall, blood mist rolled like boiling iron juice, and the stench mixed with the smell of rotten bone marrow assaulted the nostrils. Black air burst out from the broken parts of Han Xiao's blood robe. His pale face was twisted like a ghost, and his bloodshot eyes were locked on Li Xiu. He squeezed the blood ancestral token with his withered hands and it shattered, and the fragments turned into blood-threaded diamonds. Entering the palm of his hand, he swallowed it in his throat, and the black light of the demonic elixir flashed straight into his dantian. There was an implosion with a boom, and the demonic energy rushed through his meridians like 10,000 pythons. His hair stood up and spurted blood for 3 feet. The roar shook the blood tiles on the roof of the palace and collapsed. Li Xiu. The blood demon in the previous life swallowed the ancestral elixir now. At the peak of nascent soul, the blood ancestral hall set up an ambush to devour you. Immortal soul. The skinny black robe of the 3-yuan infant protector floated in the air, and the spiritual pressure was superimposed like a black mountain. They looked at each other with flashes of fear but gritted their teeth and roared. Young Master Han broke through and joined forces with the blood sacrifice formation. Thousands of casual cultivators of the Iron Army were thrown away. Han Lai crawled to the ground with weak knees, and the fragment of the black gun fell to the ground with a ding-dong. His nose was bruised and his face was swollen, and he raised his head and twisted in despair. The master of the house, his spiritual veins are destroyed, his headquarters is dead, and the magic pill backfires. The strong man of the Iron Army in front of the palace holds the bag of spiritual stones tightly with his thick arms, breathing hot breath out of the copper bell's eyes, and the bloody mud splashes on his feet. He murmurs and trembles. The Korean dog swallowed the pill, the black energy rose to the sky, the spiritual pressure of the 3 ancestors crushed the bones. Immortal Lord, the golden light of the iron wall talisman is dim, and the meridians are aching. Jiang Chen's thin body whip shadow locked the protector with a snap, and the spiritual whip wrapped around his withered arms, sizzled, and the smell of burnt meat was pungent. His thin face was pale and beads of sweat rolled down, his eyes were about to crack and he gritted his teeth. Brother Xiu. The 3 Yuaning peaks join forces, the blood sacrifice array pulses underground, and the knees of the Iron Army are weak. The scorch marks on the bloody edge of Bai Ning Luo's skirt have not disappeared, and the sword buzzed as the frost melted, her blue eyes flickered with fear, and her jade hands trembled slightly. The ice net spread out but was evaporated into mist by the heat wave of demonic energy. Master. Han Xiao set up the Fuzu Palace, the magic pill broke through the spiritual pressure and reversed it, and the casual cultivators defected and the army's morale floated. Gu Shinku pointed at the center of Han Lai's eyebrows, and the bloodline technique snapped his dantian. He coughed up blood and bent over, laughing hoarsely. The dark curtain has been revealed. Han Xiao alone injected the magic pill. However, the 3 guardian blood ancestral formations, the Iron Army in the middle stage of the nascent soul is gone. Sun Tzu's whip dragged on the ground, the eyebrows of the sword were broken and bloodshot squirmed, the nascent soul was as dim as a candle, his throat clucked and kowtowed and trembled wildly. Immortal Lord, there is blood deep in the ancestral palace. Sacrificial souls are resurrected, Han Xiao's blood soul in his previous life is shattered, and now the magic pill is soul-eating, the iron wall is in despair. The whole place is filled with deathly silence, and the blood wind turns into magic flames and hisses to burn the air. The strong man of the Iron Army hugs his head and his thick legs become weak, and the nosebleeds are coming again and he roars. The amulet has failed, the soul is crushed and the bones are broken, the Han family counterattacks. Li Xiu was hunting with his silk robe behind his hands, his frosty eyes swept across the ancestral palace's dim light pulsating, and the murderous intention in his heart was like a frost blade, the reversal of the dog thief's magic pill. The secrets of the past life are revealed, and the sword of revenge suppresses them. The palm wallet system, ding, flashed, fateful crisis, blood ancestral hall demonic pill ambush, 3 Yuaning peak blood sacrifice, recharge hundreds of billions of spiritual stones, refining, immortal master technique, nascent soul late stage pill. The balance is negative 5.5 billion, recharging. Ding! Hundreds of billions of spiritual stones have arrived, and the total balance is negative 105.5 billion, the debt is unlimited. 50% of the immortal memory is unlocked, the Dantian galaxy surges, and the nascent soul is in the late stage. The Dantian bang like a starburst, hundreds of billions of spiritual stones turned into light rain, buzzing, and gathered in the meridians, every inch of flesh and blood popped and transformed into golden patterns, and the embryonic form of the nascent soul suddenly grew 3 feet long. The strong man of the Iron Army glared, his nostrils sprayed hot air like an ox, he grasped his chest with thick fingers and the golden light rekindled and roared, the Immortal Lord's wallet is worth hundreds of billions. The spiritual pressure of the late nascent soul, the demonic flames are flying through the meridians, and the iron wall is invincible again. Jiang Chen's thin eyes flashed with tears, and the whip flew away with a pop, and whipped away the withered arm of the second protector. The jade body leaned forward, blue eyes were burning with flames, and the frost layer of the ice sword overlapped 10 feet, Master, Ninger Bingxin surrenders, and joined San Xiutu to protect the law. Gu Xing stood up straight, and laughed with dried blood and tears. The Immortal Lord is avenged in the later period, and the 3 ancestors are sealed by blood. Sun Tzu cowed out his head and smashed the bloody mud with a dong dong, and roared with a trembling voice, 100 billion wallets shocked the soul. Han Xiao's magic pill was dimmed, and the ancestral palace was destroyed. The burning smell of Han Xiao's blood robe was soaring to the sky. His spiritual pressure at the peak of Yuanying was like a black tide, but it was pushed back by Li Xiu's force and he was pushed back hundreds of feet. His face was pale and blood and tears were streaming down his face, his eyes were bulging and his veins were bulging, and he was shouting in fear, impossible. Hundreds of billions of spiritual stones. In the late stage of Yuanying. Immortal Lord in the previous life memory opened. Blood Ancestral Hall, Blood Sacrifice Forbidden Technique, Soul Devouring 10,000 Ghosts. The Guru Blood River boiled under the Ancestral Hall, and thousands of souls screamed AO, and sprang out of the black python to entangle the 3 guardians. The skinny black robe's spiritual pressure surged and bit into the Iron Army, and the demonic energy hissed like ink, staining the air with rancidity. The 3 guardians yelled at each other and waved their blood with their withered arms, Eat Li Xiu Yuanying. The strong man in the front line of the Iron Army blocked the black python with his thick arms. The golden light of the talisman popped and shattered the meridians. Burning hot blood spurted out from the nose. Their knees went weak and they fell to the ground and growled, soul-eating poison. Immortal Lord. Jiang Chen, Bai Ning and Gu Xing jumped up together, whipping the ice network. The bloodline technique buzzed, intertwined to block the 3 guardians, and Sun Tzu whipped and shouted information. The core of the ancestral palace, Han Xiao is hiding the remnant soul of the blood soul flag. Thousands of casual cultivators turned to the sword to assist, but they were bitten by the soul python and screamed repeatedly, the guardians join forces, the Iron Army can't stop it. Li Xiu smiled lightly, his eyes locked like a sword locking Han Xiao, his silk robe was full of golden patterns, he stepped on the blood mist with his hands behind his back and bombed into the ancestral palace, the phantom of the Samsara sword buzzed between his eyebrows, bursting into a rain of swords from the Milky Way. Han Xiao's bloody robe was shattered into strips of cloth, and the magic pill backfired and his chest was blackened. His knees weakened and he retreated 3 feet, and blood bubbles appeared in his throat. Gugu twisted in despair, in the past life, the blood demon Han Xiao in the fairy world, greedy for your secret realm of Li Xianzun's family's spiritual veins, his blood soul destroyed the whole family of the Li family. Reincarnated with the Han family's 10,000-year-old foundation, today's foundation is destroyed. Regret. The forbidden technique, Blood Ancestors Soul Explosion. The fragments of the Blood Ancestors order self-destructed with a roar, and the prototype of the 3 protectors' nascent soul burst into pieces with blood arrows and fell to the ground, twitching and roaring, young Master Han, the soul bite is ineffective, the immortal sword rain reincarnation, the nascent soul is reincarnated. Gray. The strong man of the Iron Army stomped the black robe with his strength, and roared fervently, the immortal master slaughtered the 3 ancestors in the later stage. The sword is invincible, and the iron wall is strong. Jiang Chen's whip-lock fell to the ground, and he shouted with tears in his face, Brother Xiu's memory is open, the secret room picture. Lock Han Xiao away. The second protector, Bai Ning, turned into an ice sculpture and shattered. His blue eyes were full of passion, Master's revenge has been revealed, and the grudges of the past life have been wiped out. Ninger swears to follow. Gu Sheng, the last protector of the bloodline, smiled with blood and tears, the Li family is hated, and the Han family is finally dead. At the core of the ancestral palace, Han Xiao kneeled down on the river of blood with his head in his arms. The magic elixir shattered and burned with black energy. The smell of burnt meat filled the air. His face was filled with blood and tears, hoarse and regretful, Li Xianzuan. I was greedy in the previous life and destroyed all your spiritual veins. In this reincarnation, they will be destroyed for 10,000 years. The blood soul banner's treasure is broken, Han the family is in ashes. Spare me, and give me the last secret map. Li Xiu's silk robe was put behind his hands, and the spiritual pressure of the late nascent soul was wiped away. The memory of the immortal master came flooding back, the fairyland of the previous life, the Li family's secret realm with hundreds of millions of spiritual stones, the blood demon Han Xiao attacked and massacred the whole family, and the blood soul flags swallowed the soul and replenished the magic pill. He said softly, blood debt must be repaid with blood. Past and present life, death. The sword of reincarnation solidified with a buzz, and the Inha cut off Han Xiao's head with a hiss, the prototype of the nascent soul exploded and the blood mist evaporated, the blood ancestral hall collapsed into ruins with a bang, and the fragrance of elixir was like a mist that suppressed the stench. The spiritual consciousness of the hidden masters in the city cracked, and the old monster on the mountain smashed his wine cup to pieces with his withered face and kowtowed. Li Xiu Yuanying has 100 billion wallet in the later stage, Han Xiao is the third protector, the grudges of the past life are over, the Xianzuan pavilion controls the entire city's mineral veins, and I am the only one who is the master. At dawn, the blood mist dissipated, and the sun shone on the ruins of the Han family's headquarters. The strong arm of the Iron Army carried hundreds of millions of spiritual stones, and the jingling sound resounded. He inhaled the fragrance of elixirs in his nose and roared, the Immortal Lord's revenge has been accomplished. The Han family's power map has been completely presented, the mineral resources and spiritual veins have returned to the pavilion, and the iron wall's thousands of troops have increased their golden elixirs. Jiang Chen's thin body jumped up, the diagram of Han Xiao's secret training room, buzzed, unfolded in his hand. The mountains of spiritual stones and secret treasures in the secret room flickered. His thin eyes were twisted with tears and he was filled with joy, Brother Xiu. The secret room's 10,000 spiritual stones plus fragments of blood soul flags plus the jade slips of the Han family's ancestral home are all returned to the Immortal Lord Pavilion. Jiang Chen will always be strong. Bai Ninglua's skirt fluttered lightly, Jade holding the ice sword in her hand, she leaned forward, her blue eyes filled with soft light and her heart flushed as she whispered, Master keeps a low profile to avenge you, Ninger is so happy to witness. Thousands of casual cultivators are loyal to you, but Bing Xian is only master. Behind her, the rogue cultivators knelt down in darkness, their sword eyebrows lowered and trembling, the Immortal Lord is mighty, Han Shai is destroyed, and the alliance returns to the pavilion. Gu Shinku pointed at the eyebrows of Sun Zhu Han Lai and other remnant troops. Their blood was sealed in the Dantian. Everyone was sweating like rain, kowtowing and trembling wildly. Follow the order of the immortal. The old members of the Han family have donated all their books, and all the mineral resources of their power have been handed over. Li Xiu put his hands behind his back to set up a ruins, his silk robe shone with golden patterns reflecting the sun, his eyes scanned the city's spiritual pulse, and the wallet in his palm, dinged, vengeance victory. looting hundreds of millions of spiritual stones plus mineral deposits plus secret treasures from the Korean headquarters. The balance has soared to 94.5 billion. The power of Xianzhuan Pavilion is trying to control the whole city. The family token buzzes phantom, and the inheritance rights are revealed. The inner peace is like a lake, the foundation is destroyed, Han Xiao is dead, and the past life is regretted. He said softly, the Iron Army cleared the ruins, Jiang Chen controlled the mines, Bai Ning was a loose cultivator, and Gu Xing sealed the old tribe. The Immortal Lord Pavilion is strong, and the aftermath of revenge is gone. The strong men of the Iron Army roared together and stomped on the ground with thick legs, blood and mud splashing, and they rushed forward to carry the warehouse and breathed hot breath, obey the order. Pavilion Master Immortal Lord, Li Xiu the wallet is invincible, and the whole city surrenders. All the old weirdos in the restaurants in the city surrendered, and the pretty girls murmured in admiration, Li Xiu despises the powerful people of Korea like ants, and I am the only one who respects him in the sky and on earth. The white jade body cuddles up, the fire of love is surging, Jiang Chen's slim face is filled with tears of joy, and his loyalty is as strong as iron. The fragrance of elixir fills the market, the sun is warm, the fruits of revenge are harvested, the Immortal Lord is low-key and hidden, and the journey begins again. The sun poured down like liquid gold into the ruins of the Han family headquarters, and the blood and mud evaporated into scorched earth, a pungent heat wave. The clanking sound of the Iron Army's strong men carried the spiritual stone warehouse with thick arms resounded in the sky. Their breaths were thick as cattle and sprayed out a mist mixed with elixirs. Their round copper bell eyes stared at the golden pattern of Li Xiu's silk robe. Their thick legs and knees were weak and they knelt down and roared and trembled. The Xianzhuan Pavilion strengthens the city's mineral veins, and the Han dogs fly away. The iron wall is full of gold. The first sign of elixir, only the master of the pavilion is the master. The casual cultivator knelt down with his sword eyebrows low and sweat rolled down his forehead, the sword light hummed dimly in submission, and his throat clunked as he swallowed with fear and admiration. Li Xianzhuan's reincarnation sword rain devours all ghosts, and the hatred of the past life shakes the soul. The mind map is exhausted, and the alliance will always be with you. The white robe was lightly fluttering, holding the ice sword forward with a trembling hand, and the blue eyes were filled with flames of love. Her jade body was flushed, and she leaned close to the edge of Li Xiu's silk robe. She whispered as softly as ice, Master. Ning'e witnessed the collapse of the blood ancestral hall. Han Xiao knelt down and regretted the death of his head. It was so satisfying. His heart was uncontrollable. Bing Xian will always be with Master. Jiang Chen's thin body jumped up and the picture of Han Xiao's secret chamber in his hand buzzed and unfolded his aura. The tears in his thin eyes were twisted with ecstasy. The shadow of the whip locked the grandson Han Lai and other remnants. The sour and numb roar was hoarse, Brother Xiu, the secret room of the Shenwei mine, the fragments of the blood and soul of the Wanling stone, the ancestral jade slips, all returned to the pavilion. Jiang Chen's army is strong, and Qiu Shui will always follow. Gu Xing stood upright with blood and tears drying up. With his fingers, he popped the forehead of his old ministry to seal his dantian. Everyone was sweating like rain, kowtowing and trembling with nosebleeds on the ground. Elder Gu has a great bloodline, the immortal is kind. Han Sun's old ministry's mineral veins map is presented. Li Xiu stood in the center of the ruins with his hands behind his back, his silk robes were full of golden patterns that reflected the sun, his frosty eyes swept across the city, and his spiritual veins pulsed like a net, and his heart was as calm as the abyss of the galaxy. Han Xiao's blood debt to the snow, the pain of all the Li family in the fairy world in the previous life was gone, but 50% of the memory was unlocked, and the fairy world was even bigger. The shady scene looms. The palm wallet system dings, with a dazzling golden light, victory and revenge, plundering hundreds of millions of spiritual stones from the Korean headquarters plus mineral deposits plus million spiritual stones in the secret chamber plus fragments of blood soul banners plus jade slips of the Han family's ancestral home plus Sun Gu Alliance mind map to control the whole city. The total balance is 150 billion. The phantom of the family token buzzes, and the inheritance rights are fully activated. Unlock the coordinates of the secret realm of the Li family's fairyland. 60% of the Immortal Lord's memory is unlocked, the peak of the late nascent soul, and the Samsara sword sublimates the galaxy to destroy the world. The Dantian Bang star bursts again, the 150 billion spiritual stones turned into the Milky Way light rain, buzzing, and converging on the meridians. Each inch of flesh and blood snaps, golden patterns suddenly grow 3 feet long, and the spiritual pressure pours out like the top of the Milky Way. The blood mud in the ruins instantly condenses and the frost clicks and breaks, and the sunlight twists into silver light. The wine glasses of the spiritual masters in the city were smashed on the top of the restaurant. The old monster knelt down with a pale face and kowtowed tremblingly. Li Xiu's wallet is worth 150 billion. The spiritual pressure of the late nascent soul is at its peak. The Han family has destroyed all the officials in the city. The Xianzhuan pavilion has unified the mineral veins. I am the only one who dominates the heaven and the earth. Suddenly, thunder roared in the sky, and black clouds poured down like ink. The fishy wind carried the demon's roar, ouch, and the smell of rotten bone marrow hit the nostrils. 3 withered shadows floated in the sky on the top of the mountain outside the city. The late spiritual pressure of the black-robed hunter nascent soul was superimposed like a black mountain. Crushed the whole city. The leader of the old monster with white hair and blood eyes locks Li Xiu, pinches the blood streamer with withered claws, and the remaining soul sizzles with black energy. He laughs wildly with a gurgling sound in his throat and turns to taunting in twisted despair. Little Li Xiu. Han Xiao is the reincarnated chess piece of my blood demon sect. The Li family's spiritual veins were destroyed in the previous life, and now the 3 blood ancestors of the Han family are coming in person. In the later stage of nascent soul, we will join forces with the blood soul forbidden technique to devour the souls of the whole city of your Xianzhuan pavilion mine. The blood sect has been kneeling for thousands of years. The light hissed, tore up the rotten air, and the 10,000 soul black python, Golu, sprang out from the ground to bite the casual cultivators of the Iron Army. The strong man's thick arms blocked the golden light of the talisman and popped to pieces. The meridians were burning, and the nosebleeds spurted wildly. His knees went weak and he fell to the ground, roaring in fear. The third of the blood demon sect, in the later stage, the pulse of the spirit pressure bone-crushing mineral veins is reversed, and the Immortal Lord pavilion is in danger. Jiang Chen's thin body whipped the black python, but the smell of burnt meat was pungent. He had a thin face, pale eyes, and gritted his teeth. Brother Xiu, the blood sect is ambushing Quan City. The black cloud demon crushes the Iron Army and the golden elixir is shattered. The Bai Ning ice sword frost network spread out 10 feet and buzzed, but was evaporated into mist by the blood heat. The blue eyes flickered with fear and the jade hands trembled. Master. The forbidden technique of the 3rd blood ancestor is devouring the ore. Casual cultivator. The heart is full of betrayal. Gu Xing coughed up blood and bent over to seal Sun Tzu and others. He laughed hoarsely. The mastermind of the blood demon sect in the previous life, Han Xiao, only died. The Gesher mine was completely devoured. Sun Tzu, Han Lai and other remnant soldiers held their heads and trembled with blood. He kowtowed to the ground. The blood ancestor is here in person. The Immortal Lord pavilion is dead. I regret serving as a Korean dog. The spiritual senses of the old monsters in the city collapsed, and the pretty girls screamed and flinched. Li Xianzhuan's dreams are shattered, the blood souls of the 3rd stage are thousands of ghosts, and the mineral veins are flying to pieces. The strong man of the Iron Army, whose thick legs went weak, held his head and roared in despair, while the casual cultivator knelt down and screamed in despair. The amulet has failed, the blood python eats the soul, and the pavilion master Immortal Lord cannot stop the 3rd stage. The bloody wind turned into magic flames and hissed, to burn the air with scorching stench. Who screamed in fear? The battle of cultivating immortals. Li Xiu suppresses the Korean dignitaries like ants, and today the blood sect crushes the whole city. We ants' lives are at stake. Li Xiu, the leader of the blood ancestors, the blood pupil mad flame lock, laughed, "My son's 100 billion wallet?" The forbidden blood soul technique devours the soul of the nascent soul, and the mineral vein spirit stone is dedicated to my sect. The whole place was filled with deathly silence, everyone's eyes were twisted in despair and the blood veins were bulging, and the fruit of revenge was about to fly away. Li Xiu smiled lightly, his eyes were like frost blades bursting with the cold light of the Milky Way, the golden pattern on his silk robes burst into flames, and he stepped on the ruins with his hands. Boom, the spiritual pressure of the Milky Way counterattacked and the black cloud shattered. The balance is 150 billion, recharging. Ding! 200 billion has arrived, and the total balance is 35 billion, unlimited. 70% of the Immortal Lord's memory is unlocked, and the mastermind of the blood demon sect's destruction of the Li family in the previous life is revealed. Dantian, rumbling, like the Milky Way exploding, 200 billion spiritual stones turned into world-destroying sword rain, buzzing, thousands of samsara frosts, each sword infiltrates the soul and is dedicated to the source of blood sacrifices, hissing, tearing away thousands of ghosts, black pythons, grey flying pills are pressed with rancidity. The great perfection of spiritual pressure is like the sky collapsing and the earth crushing the three blood ancestors' black robes, snap. Shattering. The strong man of the Iron Army glared and bulged his nostrils, breathing hot air like an ox, and grasped his chest with thick fingers. The golden light rekindled and roared in twisted ecstasy, the immortal master has a wallet of 200 billion. Yuaning Dzogchen's world-destroying sword rain, the blood python's grey flying veins stabilize the iron wall and the invincibility is restored. Jiang Chen's thin eyes were filled with tears. The long shadow storm blew away the smell of burnt flesh from the withered arm of the blood ancestor. His thin arms stopped shaking and he roared hoarsely with joy, Brother Xiu is perfect in his divine power, and the black clouds and mines are immortal. The white jade body leaned forward with blue eyes and fireworks burned into the sky, and the frost layer of the ice sword overlapped hundreds of feet to freeze the two bloods. The Zuching ice sculpture, Kala, collapsed, Master, 200 billion refining realm, Ninger ice network surrenders and joins forces to massacre the blood sect. Gu Xing stood straight up and burst out laughing with blood and tears, the immortal master has perfected his previous life, and his bloodline has sealed the third ancestor. Sun Tzu Han Lai and other remnants of the army kowtowed and smashed their heads. The blood mud, dong dong, trembled and roared, the wallet is infinitely soul-shaking. The blood demon sect is ashes, and the pavilion will always be strong. Thousands of sword lights from the scattered cultivators revived and, swish, assisted. The old monster kowtowed with a withered face on the top of the mountain and sprayed blood from his nose. Li Xiu defies the blood sect like an ant, and the great perfection spiritual pressure is worshipped by the whole city. The burning smell of the black robe of the third blood ancestor was soaring into the sky. The spiritual pressure of the late nascent soul was like a black tide, but was pushed back thousands of feet by the rain of world-destroying swords. The leader's blood-pupiled eyes were filled with blood and tears, and his eyes were bulging and he roared in horror, impossible. 200 billion wallets. The memory of the nascent soul's great perfection in the previous life. The blood soul flag ancestral weapon, explode. The blood flag self-destructed with a bang, and the blood wave soared into the sky, and the prototype of the three Yuaning snapped. The broken blood arrows sprayed out and twitched, and the withered body fell to the ruins and screamed, Li Xianzuan. In the previous life, the blood demon sect was greedy for the secret realm of the Li family's fairyland, and the whole sect slaughtered your whole family. In this reincarnation, you are defeated, and regret that the soul-devouring sword is ineffective in the reincarnation ashes. The whole city's spiritual senses cracked and shook again. The old monster on the mountain dropped his wine pot to the ground and kowtowed wildly. Li Xiu, the third ancestor of the blood-slaying demon sect, has achieved 200 billion, and was the mastermind of the Snow Immortal Pavilion mineral vein in his previous life, worth billions of spiritual stones. He is invincible in the city. The fragrance of elixir filled the ruins with the warmth of the sun, and the thick arms of the strong men of the Iron Army carried the newly plundered blood sect's secret treasury. The ding-dong resounded with enthusiasm. The Xianzuan pavilion swallowed the blood demon mine map, and the spiritual stone suddenly increased the golden elixir army. Jiang Chen's thin body held the jade slip of the blood soul's ancestral home and buzzed it. His thin face shouted with tears, "Brother Xiu." The coordinates of the blood sect's secret realm plus the remaining map of the fairy world passage are all returned, and Jiang Chen's entire city's mineral veins will always be with you. Bai Ning Luo's skirt gently touched Li Xiu's jade arm. With blue eyes as tender as water, he whispered flushed, "Master's Dzogchen is very satisfying. Ninger swears to die for Bing Sinwei, Master, and the casual cultivators will serve you forever." Gu Xingku sealed all the remaining souls of the blood sect with his fingers, and everyone kowtowed and trembled wildly, Zhengxianzhen. All the maps and mineral veins in the city have been exhausted. Li Xiu glanced at the wallet in his palm and said, "The blood demon sect is destroyed, 300 billion spirit stones plus fairy world coordinates are looted from the secret library, the total balance is 650 billion. The family token is embodied, and the right of inheritance, the bloodline of the Li family Immortal Lord will last forever. There is no turmoil in my heart, the grudges of the past life are over, the immortal pavilion has strengthened the foundation of the city, but a greater journey to the secret realm of the immortal world has begun." He turned around with his hands behind his hands, the golden light of his silk robe flashed, and the shadow of the token buzzed from the center of his eyebrows and turned into a golden light that fell on Jiang Chen's palm and clicked and solidified. Jiang Chen's thin eyes widened and burst into tears, and he knelt down and trembled, shouting, "Brother Xiu. The token of the Li family's Immortal Lord is passed on to Jiang Chen. The right to the bloodline of the Tonga mine." Bai Ning's blue eyes were wet and her jade hands covered her heart. "Master retired." Ninger followed junior brother Jiang to guard the pavilion, and the ice sword protected the Immortal Lord Zheng. Wei. Gu Xing smiled and kowtowed, "The token is passed on, and the divine grace is immortal." The Iron Army cultivators roared and stomped on the ruins, splashing blood and mud. The Immortal Master ordered Jiang Pavilion Master. The whole city will surrender and worship Li Xianzuan forever. The old and beautiful women in the city swore in admiration, "Li Xiu despises the powerful and conceals himself, and he is the only one in the world." Han Xiao's blood robe shattered, and he caught the blood jade fragments and rushed into the depths of the blood palace. His spiritual sense flashed, "Li Xiu, in the early stage of yuanying." The ultimate force of the headquarters summoned, and the counterattack blood sacrifice was launched. The blood palace collapsed with a bang, and the undercurrent surged again. Li Xiu's eyes were frosty, and his sword intent was locked deep in the depths. "Dog thief, run away. Bloody revenge," continued. Li Xiu's smiling figure faded into a silver light floating in the sky, and his wallet dinged. "The new news, the secret realm of the fairy world is open. The remnants of the blood demon sect are reincarnated to challenge a large number of reincarnations, recharge trillions to start a new path. The warmth of the sun lingers in the city, the fruit of revenge continues to grow in strength, the Immortal Lord retreats in a low-key manner, the edge of the galaxy journey rises again, and the storm surges again."